Are you getting yourself ready for our show?
Alrighty, guys, here we are. It's Jigs and Bigs. It's Tuesday. We have one hell of a show for you guys this week. First off, I got to start things out and let you guys know that September is just like a day away. Like it's going to start. It starts on Wednesday, which means the September monthly Jigs and Bigs tournament is live. We've got 9 anglers in now. You can get in, and then you won't miss a single day of all the action. And it's going to be amazing. I got to tell you, we've got huge plans here, Jigs and Bigs, for you guys. Huge plans. Plus, I have a good feeling about this month. I really, really do. We're going to talk about a lot of different good stuff today. Review our weeks, of course. We're going to have a good conversation about ribbon-tail worms. When was the last time you threw a ribbon-tail worm, and why? We're gonna get into it. We're gonna dive in. We're also, of course, we've got some tips for you in just the tip this week. We've got something about the power of positive thought, I think. Not as earthy crunchy as you're thinking, though. Don't worry about that. And some asshole with a pellet gun came up in FTG this week. This is definitely a situation where this son of a bitch earned that title for FTG. Wait till you hear about it. We're gonna hear from Jerry House. He left a message just today. It's like hot off the press type shit. We have an amazing show for you guys. We've got, of course, the review of Chronic Trips so far. We're still in the midst of Chronic Trips for the August tournament. All kinds of good stuff is going on, guys. Go ahead, get yourself something delicious to enjoy while we're getting ready for this amazing show. And we'll be back, guys, right after this. You know, I forgot to mention in that whole thing, we have an amazing interview this week, too. The one and only Mr. Tackle Box Breakdown, Sean Carrier, is in the beef seat this week. We have a great conversation, and it dawned on me as we're like rocking out to the end of the intro there. He's a drummer. I wonder if when he listens to Jigs and Bigs, he starts air drumming, too.
You said he might be in some metal bands. Is that what
from some of the answers he gave to some of the questions that I had asked? Yeah, he listed some metal bands for sure. Oh, dude, and I hit him with a good question.
What'd you hit him with?
The Dream Theater question.
What question?
Portnoy or Mangini?
Ooh,
you'll see how he did. We're brothers from another mother. I mean, I figured that out right away. I mean, you know, he's a jig guy. He's like, I mean, we're like, yeah. Basically, I've all but booked the Airbnb in Dallas. Is pretty much it. Like we're no exception. You know, it's how it works. But it's pretty freaking awesome, man. How are you, Sean?
I am pretty good, my friend. Yeah, just got out of some high school. God, I got a kid in high school now. Some high school I know, high school orientation shit. So that was fun. We had some good conversations with some of the other parents about some high school memories and this and that. It was pretty funny. And then, yeah, I'm just ready to go, man. I'm feeling a lot better physically than I have in the past couple of weeks. Got out for a tournament this weekend, which I'm sure we'll discuss. And looking forward to just a little bit more fishing this coming weekend than I have been able to get into. So, yeah, I'm pretty good. Things are shaping up.
We have a good amount of jig heads in the house tonight, which is pretty cool. We got Dylan Barber in the house. We got Andy Loaded Potato. We got Josh hooked up north. We've also got Rodney out in Indiana. How you doing, buddy? Hope everything is well for you. And we've got Damien down there in the Nutmeg State. Sean put a hat on. You look like my creepy uncle. That's not nice, Damien. Although, if it is a Stretching Lines hat, you know.
Damien, I actually had an orientation tonight, like I was just saying, for high school, and I actually combed my hair for once. All right. Didn't wear a hat. So, no.
There you go.
I will be going to my bed this evening with combed hair.
I
can only hope one person appreciates it beside myself. We'll find out.
A coiffed, if you will. I like that. Anyway, you haven't done a lot of fishing this week. I did like almost all 5 weekdays this week. The only day I didn't head out was Wednesday. And I don't exactly remember the reason why. I know I had a bunch of stuff going on around the house, but I was able to get out and fish every single day otherwise. And I got on fish every single day. Shall I review?
Yeah. Oh, you shall.
Okay, let's do it. So it all started off Monday. Did I edit the show? I edited the show after trivia on Monday, which was entertaining because we basically had to do a little bit of a race against time because I got home, I had dinner. I think, did I have an interview also on Monday night? I didn't have one on Monday night. I was able to get right in here and bang out the show and get that all set up and put out. I think it was online by 11 p.m., which is generally the case. I usually schedule it sometime around midnight. So I just put it up live. We were good to go. So that worked out really well. So I got up. I got up on Monday and I said, I got the time. I'm planning on editing late after trivia anyway. Let me go out and fish for a little bit. My oldest daughter, it's her last full week of summer vacation. She starts her senior year this Tuesday.
Holy shit.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy, man. So I'm teaching her how to drive, right? I'm also, she's getting ready for her last year of school. She's looking at colleges now. I never thought I was going to have that conversation.
What's she looking at?
So for schools, we were really, really pushing her to say that whole, I want to have the college experience on a campus I really love and everything. That fucking ship has sailed. This generation of kids has to think a lot smarter financially than our idiot generation when we went to school. How many of our friends are hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s in debt? You know what I mean? For degrees that maybe a third or more aren't using, you know?
I mean, look, I always try to tell people, especially when I was doing all the career counseling shit, a college education is important.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But don't pay for a brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Really, when it comes down to it, employers are going to say this job requires a degree.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, this school and this school, one outweighs the other. They're going to look at the college degrees, check that box and say, who's got more experience and who has a better interview.
That ultimately, a lot of that comes way more into play than the name of the school that's on there. It's one nice thing if you're like, oh, I went to Cornell, or whatever. But at the same time, I mean,
an underwater basket weaving degree from Cornell is not as good as name a college that isn't Cornell engineering degrere when you're going to be an engineer. You know what I mean?
A valid point. He says, spoiler alert, it's a checkbox.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. It's not what you were concerned with. So the thing is when you're getting out of high school, and you're starting to fill out college applications and things, the ratio of kids out there that really know what they want to do is so slim anyway. Then take the reality that hits when they get that next 10 years into their life, 15 years into their life, and what they're actually going to be doing, that shit's going to change. So what I've been trying to get her to do, and it's difficult because it's not the cool, sexy, fucking trendy college experience. I was like, take a couple of years and go to a community college and get a little bit of that college experience there and just watch what happens with any of your friends that are doing stuff differently. I know you think that they're going to go to this school and they're going to be done in 4 years and everything's going to be perfect. I'm like, just watch what happens. I said, because what you really want to pay attention to is what program do you want to get into, and then start looking for the school that offers the best for the program that you can afford. I go, let the programs dictate what it is. Cause the school might be a no-name school, but let's say you want to go to school for, I don't know. You want to, I don't know, let's say you want to go to school for any one thing. They could have a great department, and in fact, when I went to school for broadcasting, I went to a community college that had a far better program than even UMass. That was, which is another local school, but a 4-year program. It's just crazy. So I told her, I said, instead of creating all this debt, figure out what you want to do. When you have a career path in mind, then make that decision. Yeah. So we'll figure, I'm like, I told her, I was like, Chloe, I'd hate to see you just spend, the next 4 years creating $250,000 to $500,000 worth of debt and have it not pan out for you,
Yeah, and we talked about it. You and I talked about this, I think, at breakfast one day.
Yep.
one of the paths that we have available to us out here in the Valley is we have 2 excellent community colleges that have programs that run concurrently with some of the local state colleges. So you can start your degree as a freshman and continue on as a sophomore at, one of the 2 local community colleges.
Yep.
And then
it
flows right into your junior and senior year. And what you just did was save yourself 2 years of room and board. You're probably working on the side. You know what I mean? Rodney, so here's what I always tell people in skilled trades.
Yep.
Yes, get into a skilled trade if you can. On the side, work towards your degree in management of said trade, because at some point, I don't know anybody whose body hasn't given out on them in a skilled trade. It just happens. You know what I mean?
It does depend on the trade.
Yes. But at some point, you're a plumber. That's great. Plumbers don't make it doing plumbing till they're 60 or 70. They get beat up. You know what I mean? Construction, same thing. You're going up on a roof carrying shingles.
Yep.
Eventually, your knees are going to feel it. It's the rarity of the people that don't. But so I always say, build towards that. So by the time you're 40 or 50, in the time of your main money-making years for your career, now you're managing and you're making more money and you're not beating the high holy shit out of your body on a daily basis. That's
what's funny? I'm a product of a trade school, believe it or not. My background was electronics and digital analysis. And I remember getting a phone call, what was it? 3 or 4 months after graduation from my high school guidance counselor going, we're just following up with the seniors to see where they're going. And I explained to him, I was like, yeah, I'm enrolled at Springfield Technical Community College. And he's like, really? He's like, that's not something we hear about often. And, I was in a broadcast journalism program over there. And then eventually that led to a job working in television for 20 years, doing the job I intended to do. But nobody really tells you until you're actually doing it that you're not going to make dick doing it.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. And I'm like, thank God I never finished I didn't complete school. I got into the program and I got the opportunity to work because I was experienced enough in doing projects on my own. So it's just, it's crazy. I mean, plus, she's a creative person. I really have no idea what it is that she would like to do. She talked about being a music teacher. She talked about, doing a bunch of other things. And I kind of have an idea of what she wants to do. And I don't think your typical college program is necessarily going to get her where she wants. We'll figure it out, Rodney jumps in here, says, totally agree. 36 years old and I'm broken. Been in AG for going on 18 years and I'm feeling, I believe it, dude. 18 years in agriculture is a long time. And it's hard freaking work. Starting butcher school in the fall. That's awesome, dude. Good for you, man. Congratulations. So, folks, if you are in the Indiana area and you got yourself maybe a nice whitetail or something and you need it expertly butchered,
we got a guy.
Use promo code Jigs and Bigs at and he can send us all the scraps, all the sausage. It'll be great.
Yeah.
So that was my Monday. And it was cool. This week I got some time to hang out with Chloe and I went and I fished over. It's kind of ironic. Monday I fished a college campus. I love fishing college campuses. It's great. These little ponds, they don't get as much pressure from experienced anglers as you think. There's a lot of weekend warriors. So you'd be surprised at some of the quality fish that are in there. And I'll get to that in just a moment. Tuesday I went out again. She had a thing that she had to do at school because Chloe loves her school. She's one of these kids where she got asked to come in and talk to the new staff that they had hired, the new teachers and stuff, to kind of get to know some of the students. So she's very involved with the ongoings at her school. So I had to bring her over there. There happens to be a marina not far from where she goes to school. Got on a nice little smallie over there. Awesome. Now I have a theory that days where I catch fish before trivia leads to a much better trivia game.
Okay.
Maybe that's true. I don't know. Anyway.
How was it that night?
I mean, Monday was awesome. Tuesday was awesome. Wednesday, I didn't fish, but it was awesome. Thursday, I caught, how many did I catch? So yeah, Tuesday I caught one. Thursday, I went out fishing with Paul. We took the kayaks out. And this is when you and I had our conversation, and we met up for breakfast afterwards. But it was Thursday, like the heat index on Thursday was like 104. It was insane.
It was hot.
Our mission in life was to go out and get these boats on the water at first light so that we could get off the water as early as possible. So we went. I started throwing around a buzzbait. Conditions were looking good for it. I had at least half a dozen blowups on the buzzbait, but they weren't committing to it. I wasn't actually making connection. I tried adding a trailer. I put a trailer hook on, a bunch of different things to see if it was that per se or what it was. And I just think it was the wrong presentation. Shift gears to the swim jig, and I caught two. I caught a nibbler, a 12-incher on the nose, like on the money. Could have used them as a ruler in high school. Would have been great. Flopping around.
Pretty shitty ruler.
It's a pretty shitty ruler. It really is. Yeah. And then I caught a 16 3/4. It was nice. Pretty nice. And, Paul was out there. He was struggling quite a bit. The bite was not amazing. We were out there for like 5 hours. We were out there for quite some time, and I only got two. We had gone out for breakfast afterwards. All was well. And then Friday was an amazing day. I caught three. Now, here's what's crazy about Friday. I started at one of my regular spots at this one college campus, the same place from Monday. Now, Monday I caught 5 or 6. Friday, we had been talking about the cold front that was coming. And, also we were obviously talking this week about like the hurricane, the storm that had passed, and, how the fish were going to behave after that had passed. And I mean, from my experience, they were okay. They definitely seem to be all right. But I get out there and I catch these two dinks, like the dinks of all dinks. And what was I throwing over there to him?
Probably a swim jig.
No, it wasn't a swim jig.
Oh, really?
No, it was a fluke. I was throwing a fluke. Both of them were caught on a fluke with a weighted, belly weighted swim bait hook, tiny one, like a 3/16, like really, really small. And I caught two, and one of those was in a meme that I posted recently. One of them came in at only about like 7.5 inches, and that's in a meme. And then so I had this situation with this one security guard at this college campus, right? And there's a sign over there that says not to fish in this one area, but there's a railing blocking you from there before that sign was ever there. So I'm doing my thing. And when I'm there, I don't make it a secret that I'm there at all. People can see me all the time. But this one guy, I think, kind of like thinks he has a little bit more or is bored, you know what I mean? And just looking for something to do. So he comes up to me. He's like, we don't want anybody fishing over here. You can fish all over the bank you want, just not up here. Like, okay, I've never had an issue here before. And I'm like, I get why the sign is there because there's a spillway and stuff. And I've seen people on that before. So I get it. So I'm walking away and I'm kind of cursing his name under my breath as I'm leaving, as you do. I get over to this other spot, and my daughter, who was just taking a walk around the campus, comes over. And she goes, she's like, how much longer do you think you're going to be? I was like, I just came over here. I'm going to throw, a few baits around. We'll see what happens. So I get hung up on a branch and I end up losing that fluke. So I'm like, okay, what should I throw? I got a better idea. I have these nice stick baits that are they're 6 inches long. They're big, and they're the similar color pattern that I was using. And the color pattern that I was throwing was green pumpkin and purple. And these were a green pumpkin worm with like an emerald green and a purple flake in them. So I just took a 5/0 hook, biggest EWG hook I had, and then rigged this sucker, Texas rigged this weightless. Flip this in first cast, and it got hammered. It was one of these situations where I saw the line just running away, And so I reeled down, I set the hook, and immediately I could tell I've got a tank on here. And I'm battling this fish, and then I get a 17.25. And now keep in mind, I am with my oldest daughter. There is no other person on the face of this earth that cares less about the fish I'm catching than this 17-year-old girl. Like both my wife and my youngest are more interested than her. And she drops her phone. She was on the phone. She was like, "Holy shit, Dad, that's a big boy fish."
Excellent.
I pull it up onto the bank and I tell her, I was like, "Chloe, grab my net." And she's like, where? And I'm like, "It's on my back." Like, it's on my bag. Just grab the net. And I was like, "Forget it. I'm going to try and flip them up," because this is the same combo that I flipped that 7 with the help of Chris Tabari. And I'm like, this is no 7. So I pull this up onto the bank and I grab the fish and I'm just losing my mind, which brings me to this. I created meme gold, like top level gold with this.
You did.
I feel good. I feel good about it. Like it's a play on a meme that already exists, but at the same time, it's got relevance because of the fish. Like, I absolutely love it. So if you haven't seen it, go follow us on Instagram and check it out. It's the meme of me holding 2 different fish, that 7.5 and then that 17.25. What a difference. What a difference. So
very nice.
Yeah, great week. I didn't go out at all this weekend. I was like, I fished a ton this week. I caught a bunch of fish. I knew that Holly wanted to hang out on Saturday. So I was like, all right, we'll just take the whole day. We'll hang out. It'll be fine. And I had an event to do Saturday night. So I didn't want to go and get, eat up too much time during the day or anything like that. So I did this amazing event. And I got to give a big, huge round of applause to the first year class at Smith College, because they have, I haven't been to Smith College in a while for obvious reasons. But now that, school is kind of like, at least at the moment, in full swing, they booked me for a trivia night. Awesome time. Did have some technical difficulties. There was some Wi-Fi interference. I think it was probably from like a printer somewhere in that building or a copy machine doing an update, kind of flubbed some things. I had to work on a few things to get us back up and running, but they hung with me the whole time. And we just had an amazing time. It was probably about 150 girls playing this game, and they loved it. We did TikTok music right up their alley. Whole lot of fun. Did like the most epic bottle flip challenge I've ever done. It was good stuff. It was good.
All right. Party. On my end this week.
Yep.
I did 2 things. And I know I gave you some notes there for what we were going to talk about. One of them is still valid. I realized the other one I did not do. So, but I did have something else. So,
okay.
We've talked a few times in the past couple months since I got back from Minnesota that I've kind of rekindled my love affair with micro guide rods.
Oh yeah.
Now I've had a set, or close enough to a set, at least all my baitcasters were of a Lew's exclusive rod that I really liked every feature about, and I really liked the price point, that were at Richard's Sporting Goods. They were a Lew's rod. It was a Lew's Carbon Fire series. They put the first edition of those out for a couple of years, and now they have updated the edition. I'm not such a fan of the second edition. So I went back into the marketplace looking for something new. And lo and behold, where was I one day talking about micro guides? I may have been at Old Glory Outdoors about a month ago talking about said micro guides. And our main man, my man and yours, Joe, pulled me aside and said, "What are you looking for? What can I do? How can I help you, sir?" And we found a model that I was really intrigued by. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. I haven't bought rods in a long time. Order me a set of these. They were Arc Invoker Pros.
Yeah, those are great rods.
Yeah. So I ordered initially 4 of them, and I ordered a 5th. The 5th one's on the way. The 5th one I didn't figure was as important because it's my frog rod, and with micro guides, it might be a little chintzy, but I'm going to be trying something a little different with braid. I actually asked Ryan Bogley, who was there that day when I picked my rods up. The Butcher. He's got a new nickname. He's the Butcher. And so maybe he and Rodney can get together.
There we go.
There we go. He actually recommended, I believe it was a Suffix braid. He said it was supple enough and loose enough to get in there and not cause any problems with the micro guide. So I said, all right, I'll give that a go. And I also really like, and I forgot what brand it is. I'll have to look and see where I bought it. The brand of braid that I put on my inshore rods, I really like. It's white and blue. I was fine with it in the ocean, and I'll see how it goes.
Nice.
So I took those rods, I respooled everything that I had to. I did what I had to do, swapped the reels over. And Saturday, was the MAKB Western Division event number 6.
Nice.
And we had that way, way, way up in the northwest corner of the state, up to Shears, right by North Adams, a little town in between North Adams and Pittsfield called Cheshire. They got a little lake there, got some pike in it.
Cute little lake.
Yeah, and we pre-fished there. Myself and Nelson pre-fished there last week, and it was absolute nibblerama. Just nibble, just nibblers all over the place. We each caught one decent fish. Because of the location, we had a little bit smaller turnout, which was fine, and a couple of guys had to work, so I got it. We went up there, and I said, no matter what, hey, we get in the water, we got to do this. And there were 8 of us. We got in there, and guess what? It was nibblerama. Now, there's 2 basins for this thing. There's a north basin and a middle basin, and 7 of us fished the north basin because that's where I had the captain's meeting, and they have the state ramp is right there. Yeah, I guess the middle basin is a town ramp, and for events you got to coordinate a little differently, which I did. Only one person decided to go there, and I don't know if that was a last second decision just because everyone else was in the north. Well, the person that went to the middle basin went ahead and won the tournament. So,
okay, all right,
and ran away with it. It wasn't. I mean, it got close. Yeah, it got close at the end, but it was a real last minute gap closing. But what happened was all day it was nibblers. Everybody caught between 2 and 4 dozen largemouth, to my understanding.
Oh shit!
Everybody, and most people stopped counting after the first dozen, and they were all of them just 11 and 12 inch cookie cutter bass. So the nice thing was everybody got fish on the board. Everybody got a limit. Everyone had a limit quick. I mean, I had my limit by 6:35 and we started at 6. So that should tell you how quick that was. It was every other cast.
Yeah.
The cold front seemed to hold off a little bit. It wasn't, the temperature never rose, but it didn't drop to where I thought it was going to drop to. So that told me that it went on for a little while. And we actually even did get a little bit of rain in the morning, which was neat. At some point, like I said, I put up 60 inches quick. And I was in first for about an hour, and then Jerry Howes caught an 18 and a 17 right on top of each other. So he moved into first place for a while. I kind of dropped down the ranks to 5th. I was hanging around 4th, 5th, that area. Nelson made a run. He was solid all day. He was all 14 and 15 inchers. Dan Johnson won the thing. He topped 80, and he had a really good day at an 18, 17, 16, I think a couple of 14s or 15s with it. Whatever the math was, I'd have to look. He won. Once Dan took the lead with the 18 and 17, both of them had change. It was kind of over because he already had the 14s and 15s there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he just kind of topped 80 with a 16, I think. If I'm misremembering the sequence, I apologize. I wasn't tracking. I wasn't scoreboard watching all day, only when I put fish in. My day, I got out, I got those fish, and then I got a 14. And I was like, the 14 was in kind of an area that it was in between a couple of small islands. And I kind of remember that. And I'm like, well, that's the only 14 I've gotten. For a while, that was my biggest fish. Yeah. And then I went up ashore where I caught the one good fish last week. And the whole place is very nondescript. There's not a lot of like quick drops. There's not a lot of structure around these quick drops. It's really pretty flat and pretty nondescript aside from those islands and a couple of weed beds up against them. But I kept that 14 incher in mind. I got that 17 and a quarter in the area that I caught the bigger fish that I caught last week with Nelson. With 16 or whatever the hell it was. So now I had a 14 and 17. So I'm kind of lurking around, but I still had these little shit 12 and 13 inchers that just wouldn't leave. And it was so close that if I was within clearing out one 12 or 11 incher and I was tied or close to I was right there with Nelson, who was at that point in second place with the solid day he had. Mm-hmm. So I remembered where I caught that 14. Again, the 17 was caught in just a nondescript nothing. I don't know what I was casting at. It was just all the same in this basin. And I went over back between those islands and I got there with about 30 minutes left. With 15 minutes left, I caught a 15 that tied Nelson. It called out one of my shitfish. And then I got a 14 that called out another shitfish and put me 2 inches over him with 4 minutes left in the tournament. So I come around this island. I've actually called my wife and I'm like, I'm going to get back to the dock. Nelson's going to be pissed. I get around the island. And there's Jerry Howes coming out of one of the bays. And I just like yell at him like, hey, Jerry. And I put hands up. And, I know Jerry and Nelson are both listening in here. They're both on the they're both listening into the recording right now because they're both jig heads. And I put my hands up like I just scored a field goal in football. And Jerry does the same. And I'm like, why is he celebrating?
Yeah. Something doesn't seem right here.
Yeah, he's really happy about my fish. And I pull up next to him. He goes, "Did you see it?" I go, "Did I see what?" I go, "Did you see mine?" He goes, "No. What happened?" I go, well, "What happened with you first?" He goes, "Oh, I just caught a 16 and went into second place." I go, "Son of a bitch." So in the last 15 minutes, with 15 minutes left, I went from fourth or fifth, I think it was fifth, to second, knocked Nelson down to third. Or no, I tied Nelson. I was tied for second with Nelson with 15 minutes left. Then with 4 minutes left, I bumped Nelson out of second to third, and Jerry was in fourth, and Jerry bumped me with 1 minute left out of second into third, and Nelson into fourth. It was just, what a crazy way to end the day with 15 minutes and just a Nibblerama. And we were all laughing when we got back, except for Nelson, who did in fact moon us from the dock, the public dock. When he saw Jerry and I pull back in, he's like, "Hey, you two assholes." And he just pulled his pants down, and that's what he thought of us. So.
That's a real buzzer beater too. That's freaking awesome, man. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Jerry's laughing about it right now, saying, "Great turn." Yeah, was for you, asshole. So but no, it was a fantastic way to end the tournament. And if you're gonna have a nibbler off, the thing with a nibbler off is excitement, because everybody had a chance. I mean, everybody had a chance outside of first place. I mean, Dan really put that thing away early, but everybody had a shot at second. And there was only like 12 or 13 inches between second and eighth. So that's how close it was.
That's crazy.
One person caught a 17-inch fish, and all of a sudden you're probably in third because you were culling out a 9 or a 10 and going to 17. It was crazy. We had a blast, and thanks to everybody who was there. Congrats to Dan who won it. Congrats to Jerry for second. And what else happened? Dan got the lunker with 18.75, and Jerry got the lunker. I believe it was a northern pike. I can't remember how long it was. 18, 20 inches, something like that. Maybe a little bigger. Whatever, that neighborhood. But no, it was a blast. That's all the fishing I did. And this little adventure is going to reflect in just a tip for this week, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So
go ahead.
Go for it. Wrap up your point.
I was going to have this nice little slick segue saying, while we were having breakfast the other day at our favorite Western Mass breakfast locale, Mrs. Mitchell's Kitchen, give them a nod.
For sure. Yep.
With Paul. Was that Paul's first time there, or you've been there before, right?
No, Paul and I had been there before. Actually, it was the first time that we had fished the pond we had come from. We had gone there afterwards for breakfast, and he's like, I'm a fan. It was after our last trip fishing when we had grabbed breakfast. I think we got skunked. No, this was that time I went to Quabbin, and I caught all those white perch.
I thought you were going to say the time we went to Quabbin and I almost killed
him. No, and he that was the place we had eaten breakfast at. That time, he had for the first time, had the glory that is an omelet with corned beef hash inside.
Oh, so good, and the onions,
so good.
Oh my god!
And so that's what he got this time around at Mrs. Mitchell's, and he was just like, dude, he's like, I'm converted. I'm going to be coming to Holyoke for breakfast now.
Yeah, it's good. That's my favorite place for breakfast in the valley. But while we were there, was that the day I started that conversation of, I want to talk about curly tail worms. Was that day or was that another day? I can't remember at this point. I'm old.
I think it was that day. Yeah, I think so.
And we started getting going on it, and Paul and my son were with us, and they're like staring at us. And I said, well, we'll talk about it on the show. But I wanted to talk about curly tail worms. Now, I have my favorite brand of them.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't think I've caught a fish on that particular brand of curly tail worm since like 1993. But I told you, I said, that's the one time I really break my own rules on tackle buying, when if I see a bag of them, because they're not made in the US anymore, to my knowledge, I think you can get them in Europe, which is weird because it's an American company to my knowledge. I scoop them up. Like, I just have bags of them that like I collect them. I don't know what my problem is. But the worm I'm talking about is the man's manipulator. And you didn't know what that was, so I described it to you, and I'm going to describe it to all the folks that aren't familiar, some of the younger fishermen or anglers that are listening in. A man's manipulator is one of those plastic worms that comes with the tail attached to the body with a little plastic, a little tab. It's molded in, a little tag that you rip off, like a little, we'll call it a bridge. And it goes from the tail to the body. The body's about 2.5, 3 inches long, but the tail is like 4 or 5 inches long. And instead of being like your typical ribbon tail, the texture of it is almost like it's been hammered. You know what I mean? So it's like, it looks like a texture of a golf ball. There's got divots, and those reflect a little bit of light. It's a very, very subtle worm. You okay? I see your hand moving.
Oh, I'm good.
Oh, I thought you were kind of going like this, like, hey, stop.
No. You're good.
Okay. Sorry about that. So the man's manipulator, you know, I usually put 5/0 hooks in them because it'll fit the body. And I want to get that hook as far back to the tail as I can because, man, that tail is such a target. Every bluegill and crappie in the world goes after that tail. I think I have, like I said, 5 or 6 bags of them, and I collect them. I love those man's manipulators. It was like one of the first bags of worms I got. You know, the Kmart up the road at the Springfield Plaza used to have them all the time, and I would just be like, "Oh, man's manipulators, get those." So, like, I think for most of my adolescence, I would carry 3 lures with me: floating Rapalas, man's manipulators, and like 2-inch curly tail grubs or 3-inch curly tail grubs, and that's all I used to carry in my little mini tackle box.
Yeah.
Going along further, I kind of dropped those. I would carry the worms, but I never really got into them.
Yep.
And then in Oklahoma, in the summers, when I found myself downsizing away from jigs and into plastics, that's when I would use big Bass Pro Shops 7 and 10-inch curly tail worms, or ribbon tail worms, excuse me, and culprits, etc., stuff like that. So I wanted to just talk a little bit about this, see where your experience lays with it. I did catch plenty of big bass in Oklahoma. I want to say at least one, if not 2 or 3 6 and 7 pound fish on curly tail worms in the summer, or ribbon tail worms. I keep saying that.
How do you typically rig your ribbon tails? Do you do them weightless, or how do you typically rig them? That's what I'm curious about.
So actually 2 different ways. In Oklahoma, I like making contact. And I like them to sink a little faster. I really like making contact with all the trees that I was fishing. So I would use, I know them as a slider head. It's basically like an extra wide gap hook with an extra long shank going to the eyelet. Yep. And then it's almost like a bullet weight molded around that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've kind of seen what.
So you're basically, it's almost like an automatically pegged Texas rig weight to your hook, and then I would use, for a big worm like that, a 7 or a 10-incher, a minimum 5/0 minimum.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of the brand. I think it was Big Bites Baits I was using because Academy carries that, and that's what I was just grabbing, the biggest ones where they were 5 or 6/0.
Yeah.
I think I was using 5/0 for the 5/0 for the 7-inch and 6/0 for the 10-inch. But again, I wanted to make contact with those trees, and that extra weight was helping me. For man's manipulators, and this is a little trick that I use. It gets a little pricey for people who are thinking about this, but for man's manipulators, I would use a 5/0 Gamakatsu hook, extra wide gap, and then if I want to weight it, I would slide on Sebile tungsten slide-on weights. They sell like 10 or 12 packs of those. They're not cheap.
You'd weight
you got to search for them
at the belly.
I would weight it at the belly, yeah, because it does whole. Yeah, it's almost like it almost falls like a wacky worm.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense,
And honestly, I'm not worried about the way it falls so much. I'm worried about it making contact with structure.
Yeah.
So sometimes I tend to do that a little less in weed beds when I'm fishing over a weed bed because I want to keep it above it or just at the top of it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't want to sink it into the weeds. I'm not punching. I'm just fishing a weed bed. But again, if they're one of those things where I haven't put them in my bag in a while. I think I have a whole bunch of them downstairs, and I like looking at them.
It's funny, especially when it comes to worms. I really don't have like favorites unless there's like a major difference. Something like what you're talking about with that man's manipulator. That could be a big difference. But like your standard ribbon tail worm, I will throw. I've thrown power bait ribbon tails. I've thrown Zoom. I've thrown. You name it, and it's sort of always the same color pattern that I like to. There's between 3 and 5 colors that I'll choose. And that's it. I'll just kind of have them all together. But when I rig ribbon tail worms specifically, for me, when I was really getting into bass fishing early on, and it was in the summer, like in the heat, I would throw a Texas rigged ribbon tail worm with like a 3/8 bullet weight, and I would just drag that son of a bitch just as slow as possible. And I didn't get. I mean, I think at the time this was more of me being naive as to where fish were. But that was my approach as I would drag it. The one change that I would see was when I switched over to using a shaky head. And I would throw a ribbon tail on a shaky head, and I would pop it off the ground, and that tail gives this great action. And I did actually pick up more fish that way than just dragging it, traditionally. But I've never really seen big numbers. But I do know that it's a staple for a lot of folks. Ribbon tail worm is, if you're fishing an artificial, a lot of people, that's, if it's not a stick bait, then a ribbon tail worm that's the alternative.
Yeah, and this whole thing came up because when I was pre-fishing Cheshire Lake last week, I felt I had a pattern on a color, and then I started experimenting because I was catching fish, and now I'm going to do some goofy shit. And what I did was, I had a 5-inch zoom ribbon tail, a bag of them with me, in that color I was using, and I'm like, you know what? I wonder if this would work. And what I did was I clipped off maybe half an inch of the body, and I Ned rigged it.
Oh, okay.
Just to see what would happen.
And it was it producing?
I caught 2 or 3 of them. I'm like, okay, it's the color.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't getting anything big. These fish were all just so many 11-inch fish. Whatever. But I mean, to wrap up what I was saying about the tournament, I caught 46 bass in 8 hours.
That's freaking amazing.
46 bass. And I was not the only one who was having that level of success. It was just, and I think I told you I lost probably another 10 at the boat that were just, I either shook off, or I'm like, I'm not dealing with, or they would just decide they were doing the old loaded potato long distance release, just
I'm free.
Shake the hook. Yeah. And if they were small, I'm like, I really didn't feel that I left anything on the table through that tournament.
That's good.
Like
That's
I don't
a good
feel like
feeling to have.
Yeah. Anything bit the hook or shook the hook that would have changed things. I fished, but we'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get a little bit into ribbon tail worms because you never hear much about them anymore, other than, there was maybe like 3 years ago, there was a big trend with the monster ones, like the 10 inches minimum. And that seems to have faded,
I've heard of some people that like to punch that in the grass.
Yeah.
Like a big, long 10 or a 12-inch worm, ribbon tail, because it's got a little bit of action on the way down and can get those reactive bites, But I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Like, you make a really great point too about the hook point being set far enough back. A lot of times when you're fishing with these, when I'm fishing with these worms, same thing with like shaky heads and stuff. Often I kind of am worried about, am I going to be able to get, are they going to get the hook? Or are they getting so much, because there's so much other tail that's back there? I'm like, is it really? Because I'll drop shot like straight tail worms. I think I've dropped. I actually have some really small. I think they're June bug, and I forget the brand. They might be Excite Baits, and they're small ribbon tail worms, and I've put them on a 1/0 offset worm hook, and I've used those to drop shot with in grass, and it's been great because they're probably, I think, 5 inches long total. They're not huge, and it works out pretty well. But that action is, pretty nice, actually. You get that tail really kind of putting a lot out there. And when I'm drop shotting, lots of times I like to just dead stick it for about a minute before I do anything. So even just letting it sit there, any movement at all, whether it be current or just a small shake on the line, is going to cause that tail to go apeshit. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, and the big worry about using a hook that big for stuff is that, if you take a 3/0 hook or a 4/0 hook and you put it into a 5-inch stick worm, like a Senko or a Sticko or Ocho or all the different, name a brand, name a model, that because those baits are really designed to wiggle on the way down, the more the rigidity weight that you're taking, that you're, a 5/0 hook's bigger than a 3/0 or longer than a 3/0 hook. Mm-hmm. It's not going to wiggle as much, but I do not think I've ever had, I'm not in the water watching fish ignore it, but I've had plenty of success using a 5/0 hook and a 5-inch stick worm.
Yep.
So to the point where if I buy a 6-inch worm, I'll go to a 7/0 hook.
Yep.
So I don't know. I prefer setting the hook back, and I'll lose a little bit of action, I guess.
Yeah.
That's just me.
No, but it is, if nothing else, you can rest assured that hook point is a little bit further back. You don't necessarily have to worry about it. Because I've thought the same thing with shaky heads. The hook is right there, and I'm just like, man, I don't know about this. I gotta go with a smaller presentation, so that way they're not short striking on the bait. But maybe it's time to throw some ribbon tails in there.
Yeah, give it a whirl, man. Like I said, I was on a color pattern, and it seemed like I could have painted up one of the old spiders, one of the the Lunker Hunt spiders in that color, and probably would have caught fish the other day because they were on it. But
yeah, that was the one.
I had ribbon tails with me in that color, and it was just another way to, hammer that theory home.
Yeah, if you needed to switch it up. Nelson jumps in, said he had a fish grab a 10-inch worm yesterday, missed the fish and only had half the worm with teeth marks from right behind the hook to where it broke. See?
Yeah, northern pike and pickerel were in that lake, so I would.
That'll come with it.
Yeah, it happened. Or it could have been a bass. I've had bass rip worms to shreds too. You never know. Mm-hmm. It hit it hard enough. But that's all. I just wanted to kind of start a discussion. Why don't we leave it at this?
Yeah.
Anybody who's listening to this, Jigs and Bigs at Jigs and Bigs on Instagram or at Sean the Fisherman, go ahead and send us your 2 cents on ribbon tail worms. I think that's what I'd like to do every week. Let's talk about something and let's leave it to our people. I want some opinions. Good with you?
Totally works for me. Yeah.
Perfect.
Totally works for me. One thing we want to mention is that I did start using Spotify to create a second playlist of songs that are used in the show. I got to add a few songs from the last handful of episodes that we've got in there. I may actually throw some stuff in from the interview that's in today's episode for you guys to check out. You guys absolutely check that out and feel free to add songs too. If you think like, oh yeah, they missed one, or, I remember hearing them talk about this, feel free to go ahead and do that. Of course, we want to mention something that is brand new that Sean and I have been talking about. So, last week we mentioned how I've relaunched my former podcast, Trivial, as kind of like an all topic sort of, cornucopia of discussion, from all angles. Well, part of one of the things that I'm trying to do is use some of what I've learned growing the Jigs and Bigs Instagram page to the numbers that it has, which, by the way, thank you everybody who follows us on Instagram. It's amazing. And I'm trying to grow the Bobby Roast Beef page as well. I don't want everybody to go and run and follow me just because or anything like that. But Sean and I got to thinking about it. And we're going to include Sean in this too. We're sort of creating this general, I guess, sort of like a rule in a way. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say it's a rule. I think you and I decided we were going to use mine and the Bobby Roast Beef. Well, more mine, because people like you, and I'm definitely the bad cop. You're the good cop. I'm the bad cop. People like you. I'm a piece of shit. Well, I understand that. I know my role on this podcast, Bobby.
Yeah.
So if we can get this going on my account, that really says something. Like we polished a turd. We polished a Durst.
We polished a Durst. So what it is that we're talking about here is we decided that every time either the Bobby Roast Beef or the Sean the Fisherman or even the Jigs and Bigs, every time we cross over that 1,000 mark of new followers, we're going to do a giveaway on that page. Now, obviously, the Trivial one, or the Bobby Roast Beef one, is going to be a little bit more wide open with the giveaway prizes and things like that. But, the Sean the Fisherman one, and for sure Jigs and Bigs, those giveaways will be on there. So just what I'm really saying is, if you're listening to this show and you like winning shit, you should follow those accounts because there will be plenty of opportunities for you guys to win stuff. All you have to do is be following them, and it's going to be really, really easy, but really, really fun and just awesome. So go ahead and follow those Instagram accounts. We're going to try and grow them and do some giveaways. And one of the things I had talked about was doing like some stuff that I love, like a lot of local products that I use in my house, all kinds of stuff. My giveaways are going to lean toward probably a little 21 plus, so we will be having to verify IDs and stuff. We'll figure all that out.
But the Sean the Fisherman giveaway and the Jigs and Bigs giveaways
that'll be fishing stuff.
More than likely aligned with some of the groups we're already working with.
Yep.
Three Bells, Old Glory.
Yep.
Stretching Lines. We'll talk to those folks, and you know how giveaways go. If you're going to follow our accounts, there's going to be like, you qualify by following another X amount of accounts. We'll have them on there, and chances are they're going to be the people who are providing the prizes first. Shall we call it a gift bag? Gift basket?
Gift bag. What do they call that? Is it a swag bag?
swag bag.
Yeah. You know, a little bit
bag,
of a gift
whatever.
bag. Tea bag. Oh my goodness. And then
so we'll keep posted on that, man. That was a good idea, and let's roll with it.
It's good stuff. A couple of things that you need to know about. First and foremost, the fishing report, still chock full of information for you guys every single week. It's over there at northeastwildwoman.com. Check out Cheryl's blog. It's great stuff. She is a godsend, a huge help to us as far as getting this together. And a big shout out to all the contributors for the fishing report that get all this information together week after week after week. You guys are absolutely amazing. Really, 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 truly appreciate that. And then the last sort of housekeeping thing we want to talk about is merch. So as you know, all summer long, we have been doing a sort of an introductory pricing on our merchandise. Well, that is going to change when summer ends. We're going to be changing the prices to like a blanket price for like all the items and everything else. And you know, we some of you have been even recently. I think what was it? Was it Adam Blemecki was on the FTG segment? Just posted today. He got his performance shirt and his hoodie. He's like, I can't wait for fall fishing. When the weather gets chilly, I've got this hoodie and I'm good to go. So that stuff is there for you, folks. Check it out over at jigsandbigs.com.
And did you decide on a date when we're going to be switching the prices over? Was it the beginning of the fall solstice?
Yeah, it'll be, I think it's the 22nd. We're going to probably start the beginning of that week.
So congratulations to everyone who purchased or will be purchasing before September 22nd. You fleeced us, you motherfuckers. Now everybody's going to pay up. Bad cop.
Yeah, there we go. Just playing a role. I love it. Guys, we've got so much more to talk about. We've got an amazing Just the Tip coming up. We're going to talk about having a positive, basically how to adjust your mindset for success is really kind of the name of the game. We have a doozy for our FTG. This one is dangerous. Like this one is dangerous. So you're going to want to check that out. Plus, we've got an update on all of our tournament stuff. You're not going to want to miss that, guys. We will be right back after this message. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce we're being supported by Old Glory Outdoors. They're a veteran-owned company that carries fishing and hunting gear. Plus, they're highly active in supporting veteran organizations and charities. Old Glory is an authorized dealer of favorite rods, FX rods, Guggen baits, X-Zone lures, Sixth Sense, and many more. There's a brick-and-mortar store located in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, but you can also order online at oldgloryoutdoors.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. When you order, use the promo code Jigs and Bigs, and you'll save 10% off your complete order. Plus, you'll help support the show. Make sure to check out the apparel line called OGO Gear while you're there. Old Glory Outdoors believes in the slogan "Start 'em young" to keep kids away from screens and enjoying nature. They've got a full array of live bait too. Check out oldgloryoutdoors.com and use the promo code Jigs and Bigs. Save some money and gear up now.
Bobby and Sean now have a special presentation for us all. They'd like to give everyone just the tip.
With the animation and everything, in case you guys were curious how this was going down, we got Chris Pendergrass in here. How you doing, Chris? Hope everything is good, buddy. We got a good one, and today we're talking about your mindset when you're fishing. When you're out there and things get tough, never give up. Like, what is the, your mindset? We hear it all the time that confidence is huge in fishing, and it definitely is. But having a positive mindset and not like getting down on yourself, and you can be your own worst enemy 100%. It's so easy. It happens to everybody. So, Sean, I'm going to let you take the reins on this. You be our angling Tony Robbins, if you will.
Can I live up to such a title?
I think you can.
Really, who can? Well, look, this is pretty simple. I'm saying it's pretty simple. If somebody's beginning angling, this is not so simple. But maintaining that mindset of constantly, coming out with a game plan and then constantly evaluating your choices of what am I doing, what's going on, what am I doing, what's going on. You're constantly reading what's going on, and I do look at scoreboards when I'm in tournaments, but I don't get bent out of shape. Mm-hmm. If I'm getting blown out of the water, hey, that happens. Like, Well, that's going to be also, by the way, on a side note, that's going to be a future discussion with Paul Roberts. We don't know what platform yet, but he and I are going to talk about mindset going into tournaments because he and I have two completely opposite views on both mindsets and expectations. And I cannot wait to have a moderately sane discussion with him that will probably go 6 to 7 hours each clip. We were talking about a best of 7 series, but who knows? The whole point is you're getting out there. Letting emotion dictate what you're going to do on the water is never a good thing. Staying steady and, again, constantly evaluating your situation. Like I caught that 14-inch fish and I kept it in the back of my mind like, well, I need to go get a fish. That's the only one that I saw that I felt was in an area where it wasn't just nondescript. I really feel the 16 and the 17-inch I caught on Saturday and last Saturday were in a nondescript area. They were needle in a haystack, and I honestly probably got lucky and dropped it on their head. But where I caught that 14, because again, 11 to 13 inches were all of my fish. Yeah. All of them. So anything over 13 inches raised an eyebrow, and I said, well, I'm going to go back there. And then the 14-incher was apparently hanging around with another 14, another 15, and that put me from 5th to, at the time, 2nd. Yep. But again, those were in the last 15 minutes. I never gave up on what I was doing. I didn't get pissed off and say, I'm not going to be able to do this. Just, I go. I do the same thing over and over again. And honestly, if I'm guilty of getting emotional, it's if bad shit happens, like stupid backlashes that eat up time or hooking something that causes a backlash, repairs, stuff like that. That's where I get bent out of shape. But I've worked through them, and then I get back to where I was at and say, okay, maybe I lost an hour. Maybe I lost an hour getting dragged around a freaking wreck lake by a carp. That happens. That was a positive time waster. But then by the end of the day, I could have used that hour back, and I might have finished a lot higher than I did at that tournament. But the bottom line is staying mentally level throughout the tournament and sticking with your game plan. And if your game plan's not working, developing, if you don't already have it, developing that quarterback clock in your head is massively important in a tournament. If it's been 3 hours in, like, honestly, my game plan was North Basin for 4 hours. Yep. All right. But I wanted to make that run where I caught that 16. And on the way back, I caught that 17. Yeah. That changed my game plan from, okay, I caught that one fish. Maybe there's more here. If I hadn't got that 17, I would have been in the North Basin or the other basin with Dan, and who knows how that would have turned out. Yep. But my game plan was give this 3.5 to 4 hours, see how it goes, and then split the time if I'm not having enough luck or if I'm not in contention, because there were so many nibblers. There were so many nibblers. But I stayed level the whole time, and that was my decision I made. I'm like, okay, I got the 17. I'm in business. Let's work from here. Yeah. But I didn't get excited about it. And I didn't get freaked out about it beforehand that I wasn't catching those fish. And I stayed level. And you make a really good point. And I mean, having the tournament level in there, you know, like you're talking about checking the scoreboard and all that stuff. That's one thing. I also like the point that you make about how it's not just about like catching fish. Like sometimes you're just having a shit day, and you have lines that are getting tangled up, and like you can't keep track of anything in the boat, and like it just kind of happens, you know. Sean, what do you think about for like the non-tournament angler or the weekend warrior that's out there just getting out, and they have like that one day to fish, they've already got pressure on, you know, to try to get it to be a fruitful day. You know, for that person that's out there that's like struggling to find fish, what do you think about them? How can they, because taking the competitive element out of it, how can they stay focused? By paying attention to their surroundings. I'm so glad you said that. What's the weather? Yeah. What's the weather? What's going on? What's the water look like? Did we just get a cold front? All these different things you can start thinking about. And you're thinking about that, not like, I'm not catching fish. Yeah. Or I'm also not suggesting making excuses, but bottom line, I think it's a pretty solid rule. Yeah. Not rule. I know. How do I say this? It's pretty standardly accepted that it's more difficult to catch fish immediately after cold fronts because they're either the window of time they're biting is shorter, or the area that they're willing to chase a bait is smaller. Whatever. It's more difficult to catch cold fronts. You got to recognize that and then say, oh shit, I only have Saturday to fish. I got a cold front rolling in on Friday night. I might be fucked, but let's go out and see if I can dig one up. That way, all of a sudden, your mindset changes to a brutal cold front came up. and I caught 3 12-inchers.
Yeah, exactly. And you can learn from that. That's the whole thing.
Exactly.
Having the mental attitude of getting out there and saying, okay, so these are the conditions. This is what I'm dealing with. And then trying to figure out that equation. If I were to make a suggestion to anybody, it would be to take a step back, take a deep breath, and analyze the things that you know. Trust your gut, the things that you've proven. Don't go based on things that you've heard and you don't have anything to stand up against. Like, if you're comfortable fishing wood, find the wood. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
like do what you got to do to put yourself in that situation. You know, the general rules that are out there and the sayings that, you know, you've heard about fishing and, you know, certain conditions or baits that you should use. If you don't have luck with those baits, don't use them unless the goal is to hook up on that bait. That's different. You know, I'll give you a perfect example. For me, spinner baits. Fuck a spinner bait. I've never, ever had a bite on a spinner bait. I take that back. Last time we fished Big Alum and I was on Andy's boat, I had a bite on a half-ounce white and royal blue spinnerbait, and I almost shit my pants. I couldn't believe it.
And I think when you talked to me about that, I immediately accused a wayward stalker trout that had no idea what this shiny thing was.
I agree. Yeah. I absolutely agree. I have thrown spinnerbaits since then because it's one of these things that I want to find a way to make it produce. So there's things out there that I've heard previously. A little bit of wind, ideal conditions for a spinnerbait. Colder water, you know, things like this. Night. Yeah, I've heard night too. You know, but the big one for me is wind. You know, if it's noticeably windy, I'll tie one on. I'll try it. You know, and in some situations, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to break down that bait. But if I'm out and I'm just catching fish, if I'm out and it's in the middle of I'm telling you, like the Jigs and Bigs tournaments that I enter, I don't tie on a single spinnerbait. I tie on the things that I have caught fish with. You know,
all those times I go fishing, I don't tie on a drop shot.
Yeah,
you know, all those times, all those tournaments.
Times, yeah. You know, basically, anytime Sean is in the water, he's not tying on a drop shot. But that's the thing. You got to do the things that you are comfortable with, and you got to find those situations and take the elements that you're dealing with, take a step back, like legitimately take a deep breath, find your center, you know, Mr. Miyagi and shit.
Yeah.
And then look at the things that you know, and then calculate the equation that way. You'll save yourself so much more. Chris Pendergast jumps in and he says something that I really like. He goes, and he fishes tournaments. He says, I never look at the scoreboard until I enter a fish. That, I believe, is the reason people get into their own heads and unravel. I think there's a lot of truth there. I really do. Because you have people who their focus is on the competition and you don't have any control. Like if you're playing football, right? And you're a defensive player, you have some say in what the other team can potentially score. You know, you've got a role to play. But when it comes to tournament bass fishing, all I can do is fish. That's all I can do. All I can do is get out there and catch what I can catch. What Sean's catching, what Nelson's catching, you know, what Gravy's catching, it doesn't matter. Like, that's on them. So, in a way, what did we say the other day, Sean? That tournament fishing has a whole lot more to do with poker than it does with, like, football. I'll use as an example.
Yeah.
You know, it really does. It's like you've got cards, and think of the cards as the conditions. You got to play them to the best that you can if you're in the game. Otherwise, you got to fold, you know, and then go watch a bunch of Trader Joe's hauls with your wife on the couch. Maybe that's how you spend your week. It's not a therapy session.
We've almost made it through this entire year without a therapy session. We didn't. Let's keep it that way. But yeah, the bottom line is
they get listens though. They get listens.
They do. Is that still our number one?
No. Rachel. Oh, okay. Rachel Walker is the number one. Yeah. Number two or number three now is Bobby losing his mind.
Okay. Oh, well, maybe we'll have to stage a therapy session.
Perhaps.
But no, I mean, the bottom line with this whole thing is keep a level head, as whether you're in a tournament or out just fishing, because every day is different.
Yeah.
Every day is different. Take in what you can. If you're like me and an old hippie and can't remember shit, write it down.
That helps. Yep.
Hold on. What we're gonna show this to the folks at home, the camera. For those of you who can't see what I'm doing right now, I'm just gonna kind of whip open my notebook, my writing notebook that I write my fish down with. There's page full 1. There's another full page, and there's a half another just from 46 fucking mini largemouth. I'm sorry, 45 mini largemouth I caught.
Yep.
And 1 large fish, but I write them all down because I went to that lake, caught these fish, and I need to know what I did for future endeavors there. Staying level.
I'm only laughing because Nelson's comment here put this image in my mind. It says the competition should be between you and the fish, not everyone else. It helps keep you in the game. I totally understand that, but the visual I came up with was like, when 2 boxers are about to and they're like head to head and they're talking shit back and forth. Like just imagine like Sean the Fisherman and like a giant largemouth with a microphone in front of him just flopping around.
I wouldn't fight him. I challenge him to like a sack race or some
pizza cooking company. Oh,
yeah. You don't want to know what happens to the loser in that competition.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true. So that's all. Keep a level head when you're keep a level head when you're out there and fish the same way. Send out your first cast the same way you send out your last cast. That's all I can tell you. There's just a tip for the week, and now we get to have some fun with pellet guns.
Oh, yeah, we do. You know what time it is. Well, this week, this shit is just dangerous. Like, our good buddy Jerry Howes had sent us a message, and this comes hot off the heels of trail stop number 6 for Massachusetts Kayak Bass and Western Division Tournament. Man, this is like I said, this message is. I just downloaded it today. It arrived in the inbox today before we did our meeting. I couldn't even believe it. So we're gonna let Jerry go ahead and explain his tale of woe on the water while in a tournament. Get a load of this.
Hey guys, this is Jerry. Yesterday at the Cheshire tournament, I'm fishing 30 yards offshore, and I hear a pellet gun go off. I keep on fishing. I hear a pellet gun go off again. I think, sure hope that guy ain't shooting towards the water. Third time I hear the gun go off, I hear the pellet whizzing through the air, hit the water 20 feet in front of the kayak. Dumbass is shooting at a water bottle, set up on a stick, headed towards the water. Sure wish I could have returned fire and fucked that guy.
Jerry, that is the best reaction ever. Oh, but I mean, seriously, that's just dangerous. You have this one area where the tree line's going to stop and there's just all open air. I mean, whether there's a tournament or not, you could have anybody on the water. A couple of paddle boarders out there doing yoga, it could be anybody. And, the thing is with pellet guns, a lot of people like to play it like they're harmless. Get hit in the eye with one.
Yeah, I got a cousin who's got a glass eye and had one for my entire life. He's an older, it's my second cousin, my mom's cousin.
Yep.
What is that, second cousin?
Yeah.
Second cousin, once removed, whatever the fuck. Yeah, he got shot as a kid, and he's had a glass eye his entire life.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That shit can be really freaking dangerous.
And you know what the first thing I thought of when Jerry told me that on our pedal slash, he's got a trolling motor, good for him.
Nice.
Our ride back to the launch where we were greeted with Nelson's bare ass cheeks.
Awesome.
Jerry told me that. And do you remember the Sean the Fisherman story about this that I relayed? You have to look it up in the archives.
I think I'll have to look it back up, but go on. Tell our listeners.
Oklahoma. I was fishing my buddy's pond. He wasn't home.
Right.
And on Saturdays and Sundays in Oklahoma, it becomes a fucking war zone because everyone's in their giant backyards shooting every gun they have.
Yep.
And they had something automatic, and bullets were tearing apart the trees over my head from the yard over from, however far away they were. I got off the water because I didn't want to catch a bullet.
Oh,
so
I
called my buddy and said, "Hey man, I only fished for like 30 minutes today." He goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, "You got to talk to your neighbors. They were aiming at the yard." I said, "I was fucking scared because there was shit coming over my head."
Oh, hell yeah.
And he said, "I'll have a talk with them." But It's Oklahoma. They could have pulled a gun on him. I have no idea. Everybody's got guns in Oklahoma.
It's the freaking Wild West. Nelson says, you should have asked me, Jerry. I would have sent him running. Nelson would have sent him running for sure. It just blows my mind. Like that people are so stupid with, even pellet guns. You know what I'm saying? Like even pellet guns. Like just be more aware of what you're doing. Like you want to shoot into the woods. Wonderful. At least you've got trees to be able to block that. If nothing else.
I had a pellet gun when I was in Nebraska, and you know what a Nighthawk sounds like?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so in the summer nights, usually around like anything you have stadium lights, so like airfields and stuff, there's Nighthawks, and they have like an echolocation chirp or whatever the fuck they call it, and you can hear it, and it's very distinct. And they were all over Nebraska. I'd never heard them before. I've heard them occasionally in the Northeast, but in Nebraska, they're all over the place.
Yep.
And I didn't know what they were at first. And the first time I heard one, it was either nesting or whatever in the tree right by my window of my apartment. And I had the pellet gun. I unloaded every pellet I could into that tree trying to stop that noise. So these were the days I was drinking heavily. So, but I came out like my cousin Vinny with the owl. You know what I mean? What the hell is that?
What the hell is that? So this is all right. I have. This is amazing. You remember that story that I told on the show about when an old buddy of mine from middle school, actually, back when we were in high school, we decided to make some at-home explosives and blow up some snowbanks, and I ended up with a scarred nipple because of a piece of shrapnel that had traveled through the sleeve of my T-shirt. Well, you remember that story. Same guy. All right, so this is probably the explosion thing was the last time we hung out. It's like, this one time we're in the woods, and I forget what the hell we were doing, and I'm walking around, and we had split up. Like, it was a big group of us, and we had split up, and this son of a bitch had a wrist rocket, right? And he was firing off ball bearings. And guess who took one in his thigh?
Oh,
yeah. He's like, and our other buddies that were with him were like, I have never seen somebody so big move so fast. Holy shit!
Front, top, side. Where'd you get it? Back,
front, center of my left thigh. I will never forget that. Oh, it was the big. I mean, it was a good sized ball bearing too. And I was just one of these things where it was almost like I heard it. Like, I heard one go by, and then I got another one, like, right in the thigh. I was like, oh, my God, I lost my mind.
You know what's funny, too? Kids these days, and Jesus Christ, I'm dating myself. Kids these days are never going to have the stories really we did from the 80s and 90s.
I know.
They all start with this one time I was in the woods. You know what I mean? We all went out in the woods, and we were arsonists. We were demolition experts. We were pyrotechnics experts. We would make rope swings out of shit, and then somebody would get fucking hung sideways.
Oh, my God. That was some of the worst. Oh, Jesus.
Idiots. Hey, I made a fort. What'd you do with it? Yeah, we blew it up. What the fuck? So-and-so came out with 6 gallons of gas. We took care of that fort. Well, I thought you spent 2 weeks building it. What the hell?
That was the good old days when you could go out and get a cheeseburger served in a styrofoam container.
Yep.
We were, that was, oh my God.
We were idiots.
Absolute morons. Anyway, fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck us.
Fuck the slingshot guy. Fuck us. That's really ultimately what it gets down to. Fuck Gen X. That's really what it gets down to. Jesus Christ. Hold on. Berkshire Brett chimes in here. He says, or it starts with a game of lawn darts. Those are always good.
Do you know I actually have original lawn darts that I went looking for and found?
We talked about that on the show.
Yeah, I have them. We play them. It's dangerous, but we got good at that shit.
We should organize like maybe for the gathering.
Yes,
that could be fun.
Just thinking that.
Yeah, that could be a lot of fun.
Beat me at lawn darts for a prize because I'll hone up on those things. We got good.
It's pretty interesting, man.
I'll tell my father, hey, I got to practice for this. Come on over, and man, I will get him a nice 12-pack of Busch Light, and I will practice, and I'll make people earn it. It'll be good.
Lawn darts. I freaking love it, man. Are you ready to talk about some tournaments?
Yeah, let's talk Jigs and Bigs first, and then we'll cap it off with Chronic Trips.
Yeah, let's go ahead. We'll talk. We'll get into all that and discuss what's going on as far as Jigs and Bigs goes. Guys, this week is the start of it. Like, you don't want to miss it. Like, you really don't want to miss this. This is going to be a good month for fishing. I know a lot of people say they worry about September, but I got a good feeling about this one. You want some background music for this?
That's all we're going to talk about. I was going to say it's up on Fishing Chaos. It's ready.
Oh,
no.
I was gonna let you kind of run with it.
Oh yeah, well let me run with it. So I was waiting for a breather there. So Jigs and Bigs, jump on. We are going to stop the enrollment with a week left in the tournament. Once we have the amount of people for the first 3 weeks, plus the pre-registration that is already almost done.
Yep.
We'll announce the prizes that week because we'll know how much money we have to spend on you guys for prizes. Fair enough.
I think
so. Yeah, and we'll make sure that there's some nice surprises in there. Good stuff. And please come out and join us. It's multi-species. It's freshwater. It's Jigs and Bigs. Hear your name on the Ray Didio. I'll announce everybody. Some people will be happy about their standings. Other people will be shamed. But then they'll fish more.
Then they will fish more.
They'll fish more.
Should we mention the anglers we already have? Do you think there's anything negative if we mention those that have already entered?
Sure. I mean, go for it.
Let's go ahead and do this. So these are the folks who are looking to get in on this. Yours truly, Bobby Roastbeef. We got Nelson DaCosta. We've got Sean Dominic. We've got
That's me.
Yep. We've got Timothy O'Keefe already in. We've got Sarah Pendergast. We've got Zachary Phillips. We've got Oscar Serrano. Chris Speak is with us, and Rachel Walka. So those are the ones that are entered. The 9 anglers who are entered for the September Jigs and Bigs tourney. And this is going to be good. I mean, I wanted to do a little bit of trash talk here. Sean gave me some words of advice that I should shut the hell up. So I will. I'll allow the trash talk to come later.
The reason for that is if you start talking shit now, then we will have a therapy session possibly halfway through this tournament, if not definitely in October. We don't need that.
That's what I'm saying. I think
you're in this for fun.
Right.
You're going to catch some fish, and we're going to see where the cards lay. You are not going to talk shit to people. Now I'm good cop. Here you are like, hey, I want to fucking tell people that they suck balls, and they suck my balls. And I'm going, Bobby, we've been through this. We've been down this fucking road, man.
We did the balls at the Invitational. We got to move. It's time to move on.
Ate them, sucked them all. It's all good. It's all good.
By the way, I want to throw this out there before we jump into the Chronic Trips stuff. Have you watched the video on Hookset Hoodlum's YouTube channel?
Yeah, I actually forgot a couple things I said during that little emceeing you handed me a microphone, which was not a good idea.
It was not a good idea.
Particularly the funny part that I am going to repeat this because the video's out, but I was emceeing, and of course, because I'm 6 years old, I had said, and by the way, Damien from Stretching Lines has offered a t-shirt prize for whoever caught the biggest fish using one of his lures. And then I raised my hand and said, I got a 12-incher, and then realized what I said and quickly added, I also got a fish too. which I laughed again because I'm an idiot. And then I think that went to Wild Bill. I think he got like a 17 on it or 16.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but that was pretty funny because I'm 6 years old.
The other part about that video that I thought was awesome was when you and I did the ball eating. That sounds awful.
There's no punchline to that.
There's
That's it. What, when we locked arms like newlyweds? That was phenomenal.
Exactly.
That was my idea. I'll take credit for that.
But I think he put some kind of like a musical thing in there or something. It was like a little weird. It was just, it was so funny. And then the last shot that fades out of you holding the garnish in the chair just zoomed in.
Yeah.
That is amazing. That video is not getting monetized. There is no way.
One day, my great-grandchildren are going to look on this video and go, what the fuck was wrong with our great-grandfather?
Yeah. And for those of you that are interested, Fishing for Answers is back. Lone Star Kayak Fishing is on this current one. Check that out. You're going to love it. It's good stuff. All right. Let's go ahead and get into some Chronic Trips update. What do you say?
Do it. Pull the trigger. Wow, man, it's just exciting to hear that music.
It is.
Week 3 of Chronic Trips has wrapped. We have how many days are in August? 30, 31? What the hell? I don't even know what's going on here.
A lot.
A lot. Okay, so it's 31 days in August. The 29th just wrapped. We got 2 days left in this competition. Second place, the race for second has tightened up. Well, I'm sorry. No, because the last time we talked, the race for second was tied. It is spaced out, but the race to finish in the points has tightened up. Should I go through? Should I both love and shame people?
I would.
Or no?
I would.
Oh,
They
okay.
like that. Give them some love.
We will start at the smallest total points. I'm not going to say lowest because there's some people that didn't turn in fish. Shame on you. I'm not going to shame you guys. But Dylan Barber is the smallest amount of points. He's turned in a couple of largemouth. He's got 2 points. Chris Pendergrass, 3 points. Gravy, Eric Graves, which Gravy, I haven't seen you turn in any of your fish from the other day. That could add a couple points to your total, I believe. At least get you up in some. Let me think. He got a 17 or 16, I believe. That could add to. It's going to add your any 5. Fire that in there. And he got a pickerel or a pike, so those should be in there. Anyway, Graves is 3. He's tied with Chris. Now, last show we mentioned that we were urging our favorite fishing couple, the Pendergrass, to have some sort of a wager on the line for the way they finish in this Chronic Trips. Well, Sarah caught her personal best smallmouth.
Yeah, she did.
16 and a quarter, I believe. And that has put her with 4 points above Chris. So Chris, it's time to pull up the socks, buddy. You got 2 days, dude. Otherwise, who knows what's going to happen to you?
It can happen.
That couch might be really, really awful after the first week of sleeping on it until you redeem yourself. You never know. So tied with Sarah, Austin Carlson. He's got 4. Chris Speak down in Texas, I believe. The mistress. It's not a master. It's a mistress, right? Mistress is the female gender for master. Am I correct on that?
I believe so.
The bowfin mistress. There, I just gave her a handle. Go ahead, Chris. Use that. I'm not going to charge you. Derek from 3 Bells. He's at 6 points by himself. Tim O'Keefe, fellow member of Massachusetts Kayak Bassing in the Western Division. He's at 8. Tom Scott's got 9. Now we get into the double digits. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Top 6 people have double digits. I am at 6th. I have 11 points. I have no excuse for that. I haven't been catching a lot of multi-species. It's been bass. And on top of that, I guess here's where the excuse comes in. I love when I say I don't have an excuse and then I pop out like 5 excuses. My little medical issue over the past couple of weeks finally ended. So I'm okay with where I'm standing. 11 points without fishing where I did. That's fine. Josh Hubner. We know Josh hooked up north. 12 points, 1 point ahead of me. 4th place by himself, Nelson, 14 points. 3rd place, here's where a shift happened. Nate Shagnett has been pushed to 3rd. Because in 2nd place, Jerry Howes caught a crappie for extra points and caught a pike for extra points and dropped Nate out of the tie for 2nd. And then 1st place is Jared Heath. I mean, good luck to anybody with two days left. Jerry's probably got the only shot at him, but Jared Heath has 25 points. He's got a mix of fresh and salt water. I mean, the hell, man, he's had a great month. So great job, Jared. As far as the other shenanigans have gone, to this point, we have some records that have been set. Records. Chris Speak, bowfin, 21 inches.
Nice.
We have Tom Scott has set the catfish record with a 33. Nice job. I believe it was a blue cat. Jared Heath has set the largemouth record for Chronic Trips in the year plus we've been doing this. 22-inch largemouth.
Oh, that's awesome. That's my PB.
Yep. Jared has tied the Sean the Fisherman pickerel mark at 26 inches. Jared has set the striped bass mark with a, get this, 39.5-inch striper.
Shit.
And then I tied my own sunfish mark with yet another 10.25-inch rock bass, which falls into sunfish. So we got rock bass in there with bluegills, pumpkin seed, bream, all that good stuff. Currently, longest saltwater fish, Jared with that striper and Scott with that catfish. The first to 100 was Jerry Howes. The first to 200 was Jared Heath. And right now, Jared, even though he's sitting in first place, he's also sitting at 281 inches, for his total. So he's, a 19-inch fish or 19 inches of upgrades away from 300, which nobody's touched in Chronic Trips, which again, it's such a surprise that the first Jigs and Bigs tournament had someone hit 300. And that's freshwater only. but the saltwater freshwater mix in Chronic Trips has not turned up a 300-inch winner. It's just really weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just an anomaly. I don't know why that happens, but whatever. And to say a lot of the same people do both, it's just, it's a weird thing. I don't know how to explain it. And that's it for Chronic Trips. Jigs and Bigs is up next after we wrap this one.
Yeah, it's good. It's going to be such a good one. I'm really excited about September. This whole summer's been really awesome. It really has. It's been a whole lot of fun. So really, really excited about all this stuff. Let's see. Do we have anything else that we need to cover in this segment? I think we're pretty good.
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break, guys. We're gonna come back. When we come back here, we're gonna have our guest for this episode. We've got Sean Carrier here. Tackle Box Breakdown. He's a fellow drummer. He is a Texas Lone Star State angler, and we've been having a run on Texas fishermen digging the show and being on here. I love that. So, like I said, we're gonna. I even say it in the interview. We're looking to travel and get out there and do some stuff and have a great one. So we're gonna go ahead and take a short. What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry. He's from the Dallas area, correct?
Yeah, he's from the Dallas area. Yep.
I'm familiar. If you want to say, if we're down there, we can go get out to, I haven't been to Lake Ray Roberts in, holy shit, 16, 17 years. I'd love to get back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll put that shit on the radar. I'm telling you, the goal, what we've really been kind of putting nose to the grindstone is how to take Jigs and Bigs and bring it on the road. We have a few hurdles that have to kind of get over before we make that actually happen. But I think there could be a whole lot of fun and it could just be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to it. Hoping it's going to be freaking amazing. Anyway, with all that said, let's go ahead and take a short break. We'll be right back with more after this. Jigs and Bigs is proud to announce that we're being supported by Three Bells Outfitters. Located in Smith Cove on the Niantic River, TBO is Connecticut's premier paddle sports retailer. They're a full-service shop specializing in kayaks and paddleboards for everything from recreation to tournament fishing. Three Bells is an authorized dealer of Hobie, Jackson, Feel Free, Native, and Bonafide kayaks, as well as many paddleboard brands. Not sure of what kind of SUP or kayak you want? TBO offers free demos of all brands. Want to go for an extended test drive? They have a full-service rental facility on site. Three Bells also offers a complete rigging service for your kayak with such brands as Yak Attack, Yak Gear, Burley Pro, Yak Power, Torqeedo, and more. The sky is the limit. You can visit Three Bells Outfitters in person or online at threebellsoutfitters.com. They ship anywhere in the lower 48 states or order online and pick up at the store. Can't make it to the store to pick up your kayak or worried the freight company might damage your purchase? Three Bells Outfitters offers a white glove delivery of kayaks within a 225-mile radius of their store at a rate less than typical freight carriers. They will deliver your kayak, set it up, and answer any questions you may have. Be sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to tell them Jigs and Bigs sent you. Three Bells Outfitters, because life is better on the water. Alrighty, guys, Bobby Roast Beef here, and we've got another Beef Seat segment. And in the Beef Seat for our interview guest this week, we've got Sean Carrier, Mr. Tackle Box Breakdown on Instagram, or as on the gram, as the kids say.
Sir.
Sean, how you doing today, buddy? How's things?
The kids say, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're doing all right, man. It's been a pretty good weekend. We had a pretty hefty cold front actually come through on Friday into Saturday, and I'll tell you, it's been nice. It's still pretty muggy. I thought it was going to turn the fish off a little bit. It has not.
Right.
And I'm really looking forward to this week. In fact, this week starts the what is it? It starts the Jigs and Bigs September tournament, and
right,
it's going to be a good one, man. Are you entered?
No, not yet. I've haven't done a whole bunch of the tournament scene. We're looking at pedal kayaks right now. Going to get into that, eventually. But Sorry, you're breaking up there.
Oh, it's all right. This tournament is for that angler because I'm not really competitive either. Like, the only reason why I really take part in these things is because it's like it's a Jigs and Bigs event. You know, it's pretty awesome.
Sure.
But I love the engagement with the folks who are on there, and I love a little bit of trash talk on social media. So like, it's just
For sure, makes it fun.
Yeah, exactly. It just keeps it fun. We raise money for some great organizations, and we give away some awesome prizes from some of our partners. So it's actually pretty cool. But what's awesome about the tournament is
Awesome.
it's not restricted. So it's nationwide. Anybody can compete. It is catch, photo, release, but you can do that on a big boat. You can do that on a kayak. You can do that from the bank. If
Sure.
it's frozen where you are, you could do that on the ice. So it makes it really cool, and it's multi-species. So there's certain species that nobody's entered yet. Like nobody's put a gar in. Nobody's put a drum. I don't think anybody's put a drum of any kind. We've got lots of different.
Yeah, we have those.
Yeah, I think you guys have those down in Texas.
Oh yeah, freshwater drum. for
Yeah.
sure. Mhm.
Yeah, they're good ones.
And then
But-
saltwater drum if you go south. You know.
oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So Sean, why don't you tell me like the origin story of like how you discovered fishing and sort of like how you got to the point now where you're creating content on social media and you're out there catching the big ones. Like walk me through the whole story.
Sure, man. About 5 years old, I started fishing, and it was because of my grandmother and my grandfather. Now, I was born in Corpus, and about 5 years old, my dad's from Alabama, and we moved back to Alabama. My dad worked for a church, and so we moved back to Alabama.
Nice.
And my grandmother took us fishing, you know, as much as she possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, it was chicken livers and night crawlers and spinner baits, and that was her tackle box.
Yeah.
It was terminal tackle, some, you know, Jimmy Houston or whoever back then,
Oh yeah.
spinner baits, and some, you know, you throw a worm and some chicken liver under a cork and sit on the bank. And that was 5 years old and on.
Oh yeah.
We moved from Alabama to Kansas because of my dad's job.
Yep.
And same thing there. I was about 10 years old, little white grubs, little 16-ounce jig heads, slinging them around, catching brim and, you know, all of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then high school, came back to Corpus, started fishing on the island, you know, learning the whole saltwater scene,
Mm-hmm.
spec trout and redfish and all of that jazz. And then kind of got out of it for a few years, started playing drums in a band and stuff,
Nice.
and kind of forgot about fishing for a few years. Had some kiddos,
Yep.
and, you know, life went on, but got back into it, and kayak fished as a kid too, you know, 12, 13, 14 years old,
Oh yeah.
Rio, Texas, kayak up and down that. But yeah, I mean, my whole life's been, you know, in and out of fishing.
Yeah.
You know, outside of that, you know, we're going to make it, man. We're going to start this band. It didn't work out like that, brother.
Dude,
So,
I'm laughing. I'm
You know?
laughing because that was me. I too also played drums and bands in this area. So like I've been there. You know,
get it.
I put a lot of time, you know, into into
Oh,
thinking.
no, man. And
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of dollars and
I don't know.
endless hours of practice.
Yep.
And yeah,
How much gas
sacrificing the two
going to
things.
shows?
I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
what's that?
How much gas going to shows? Right.
Oh, for sure. All over the state of Texas
Unbelievable.
for nothing. But for their experience, they're, you know,
Yeah. Exactly.
those are good experiences. But sometimes they're not too. So
Yep.
those are learning times.
Yeah, exactly. No, I totally
Yes,
get it.
sir.
And it's interesting because that's a common story that we hear a lot where you'll have, you know, folks will pick up fishing when they're young. They'll you know, a family member or a close family friend will get them into it. And, you know, maybe they're crazy about it. But right about you get into that age where you're in high school or into college and you're in that age and, you know, you kind of put it down for a little bit. And then you come back to it later in life and you're just like, you know, I look back at it now. Now this is you're gonna freaking lose it when you hear this. So while I was in a band, I actually lived on a lake house for a year with my best friend. He and
That doesn't sound like a bad deal.
no, it doesn't. This is the bad deal. I didn't fish once while I was there.
Oh,
I
no.
didn't fish once.
Well, your focus was somewhere else, wasn't it?
Exactly. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I get that. Yeah.
I talk to him now, and I'm like, you want to talk about a missed opportunity? He's like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I look back. I'm like, man, if I could get years 2003 and 2004 back, that's exactly what I would do. I would fish the hell out of that pond and learn some shit.
Yeah, man.
What are your favorite seasons? Like, what's your favorite climate to be out there for you? Not necessarily for the fish. Like, what do you enjoy the most?
Probably late fall.
Yeah, late fall is really good.
Late fall. I love early spring, but everybody's going to say that. That's those fish are getting turned on and ready to hit stuff. So,
well, and the thing is with fall too, that's really nice. Everybody they get out of winter. If people don't like cold water fishing, and cold water fishing to me means something a little different to you, but there are people who they just don't dig it in the winter. I get it. So spring, they have all this pent up fishing energy, and they all want to get out there. So the pressure is really high, even though the fishing is great. The pressure is really up there,
right?
But what's awesome is that in the fall, you've got football season, and people have been maybe a little bit defeated by the summer, so it's a little bit less pressured. Right. It's a little cooler. There's less bugs. It's kind of nice.
Right, absolutely. Hey, man, and it's easy to get discouraged in September.
Oh, yeah.
If you're largemouth in the hot water fishing.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. They can turn, for sure. Oh, 100%. Is there what types of bodies of water do you prefer to fish? Are you more about breaking down smaller ponds? Do you like big bodies of water that you can really dive into and dissect? Or are you looking for current mainly?
Man, I'll fish it all. I love fishing all of them, but being very specific because, like I said, around here in the Dallas area, North Texas area, there is every body of water. Yeah. There's rivers and creeks and big bodies of water and small ponds and large ponds. It's so diverse to fish here.
That's awesome.
And sometimes that can be confusing. If you're switching from salt and coming back to fresh water or anything, you can just pick a body of water and dissect that one for a while.
Yeah.
And I learned that from experience, man, because you'll run around and drive yourself nuts trying to figure out multiple bodies of water over,
Yeah. It's so funny.
Crazy. Absolutely.
This year, my buddy and I, he had just gotten his kayak. We've been going out, getting out a bunch. And initially, when he first got his kayak, I said, look, you pick a body of water and we'll just dissect the hell out of it. We'll start looking at topo maps. We'll go over with graphs and, all this other stuff. Yeah. None of that happened this year. We've just been going to body of water, to different body of water, just to kind of get him used to being out kayak fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things where so it was a goal this year. We're just going to shift gears. And now that we're both kind of into the pattern, now we'll take that next year and we'll figure out, let's pick a really good body of water with some quality fish, something that we can really figure out. And I think we're going for convenience. We're like, we'll just take anything local. We'll just start with that. And I think we can do a little bit better than that. But as far as baits go, what's your short list of confidence baits? What do you feel best about throwing?
Well, always a jig. That'll always be my first. I'm always throwing that first, no matter what season it is.
Yep. That's
the first thing I'm throwing. I'm not big on finesse. The other day, a couple days ago, I went out and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna pitch this Ned rig around. I know they're just outside this. There's this little rock point, and it falls off pretty fast, and I know they're there. I can swim a jig across them, and they'll come up for it. So I was like, let me try to slow down, throw a Ned, and drag it.
Yep.
And got a couple of decent fish. I caught 5 or 6. I don't remember. I caught a few in about 30-minute period. I worked 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And 12-hour days, 6 days a week. Ugh. So Sunday's my day to either rest or the whole day on the kayak. But every day I'm trying to find some place. I keep 2 or 3 rods with me and in the truck all the time. So if I see a body of water and I got some time, I'm going to hop out there and try to get on something. And so I turn wrenches and drive around all day. So I have plenty of time running from job to job.
That's good. That's real good.
Yes, sir.
So what's interesting is like this. I I love a Ned rig. I do. I fish a lot of finesse stuff. I'm really, really comfortable with that slow, methodical, minimalist movement. Drop shots. I love it. Ned rigs, absolutely love it. I've been really getting into the Nico rig, and I'll throw a wacky, or weightless plastics and things. I love for that stuff. One thing that I have noticed is I will let the fish ask for it before I start,
Got it. Mm-hmm.
So like I'll go and start looking with some type of a search bait. I have a unique umbrella term for search baits because I like to include baits like jerk baits in search baits and things like that. So, but something that's moving, even if it's not the fastest thing, I'll try to cover some water. And then once I can figure out where the fish are, if they're like just not hitting what I'm throwing, maybe it's too large, then I'll go for the downsize. But yeah, a Ned is just
same approach, man.
It's so good. I think it's
I'll
the
throw
best
a big jig, and then I'll downsize that jig, and then if they're not wanting a big football drug, then I'll swim a half ounce. That's too big, 3/8, and and you can control the rate of that fall with the weight you're using and your reel speed, of course. So if you're throwing a crawl pattern trailer on a 1/4 ounce jig, I mean, you really don't even have to crank that boy that fast. Yeah. It's going to stay pretty high in the water column. And I think that's one of the best search baits there is a swim jig.
I have been all about the swim jig this year. I struggled with it a lot. I was always, I say always, since the start of this show, I had always been a believer in throwing like a casting jig, a football jig, something like that, dragging it on the bottom, hopping it along, things like that.
Drag it over rocks, all that. Yeah.
It's dynamite. It performs and it catches some of the biggest fish I've ever caught. Have been on a jig.
For sure.
But what's really amazing is it was Swamp Rat Fishing and his love of all things Beast Coast and all that stuff. I started watching some of his videos and I'm like, maybe I got to start swimming a jig. And maybe because this year I was all about trying to get better with finding fish, which in my mind was immediately, let's go more moving baits. So chatter baits, spinner baits, rattle traps, things like that. Jerk baits even, I'll lump those in there too. And I've been having some success, but for some reason I'm just so comfortable with a swim jig now. And it just makes so much sense to me. I've been throwing a 1/4 ounce around most of the time, and I'll bump it to a 3/8. But we have some real deep bodies of water too, so I've got a couple of halves that are ready to go if need be. And it's awesome. Like I love swimming a jig. I did actually just see a tip. You were talking about the fall rate, and fall rate is something that there's. I mean, the weight of the jig is one thing. Obviously, you can change that out, but like you can take a 1/2 ounce swim jig, and by changing out the skirt, like having thicker strands. And changing up your trailer, you can make that suspend even more. I'm like, that is really awesome. Apparently, the magic is living rubber is apparently the big difference versus silicone.
Yeah, or the mixture. Yeah, or the mixture of the two, living and the silicone. Those are great also. And Reaction Tackle makes a tungsten jig. I love their jigs.
It's funny you say that.
I think it's Reaction Tackle. Is it Reaction Tackle? It's not Reaction Innovations. It's Reaction Tackle. They have a tungsten,
They do.
And they have different sizes. And the head size is so much smaller than a regular lead style jig head. And I love how compact that is. And then they put these huge mop skirts on there that you can trim and do what you want with,
That's the best.
But
I got to play around with those.
Any skirted bait is amazing.
Yeah,
I love them.
I agree. I agree. You can do so much with that, and it's funny you mention Reaction Tackle because I'm on their pro staff, and I've got a promo code. I'll go ahead and mention it on the in the intro. Yeah, I mean Reaction Tackle makes great products. They do. I use a lot of their line. I use the braided line and their fluoro line. I just haven't had to buy any mono from them, so I'm swimming in it.
Sure.
So, but I mean they do a lot, and their tungsten is cheap. It's great. Those
jigs aren't expensive and they are amazing.
Yeah.
They're way better quality than just off the peg box. I mean, they are.
I hadn't even thought about looking into those because you're right. The skirts that Reaction puts on there are pretty high quality. I got it.
Yeah, they're pretty fluffy.
I might make an order at dinner tonight. All right, so this next question is a mainstay, and I'm sure you've heard it before. You know that saying that fishing tackle catches more fishermen than it actually catches fish. In your opinion,
Yes, sir.
what do you think the most ridiculous fishing tackle trend has been that the industry kind of gave to us? And the follow-up question is, if you used it, how did it work?
That's a couple answers to that one. I don't know if there's any one. Some of the tackle is getting ridiculous, of course.
Yep.
You know, you got 12-inch spiders, stuff like that, crazy stuff like that. But I think color to me is the most overly. You know, it's ridiculous the amount of colors of different things we're getting, in my opinion.
I'm with you.
I'm super simple. I mean, it's black and blues, green pumpkins, red and blacks, whites.
Yep.
That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go fishing. And you can just about make anything work with those colors. So all the different colors, I think that's a big selling thing. That it's just, I've got to have every color. And especially when you're talking about pretty, you know, these they're not really novelties. They're just pieces of art. Some of these crankbaits are beautiful. Some of these glide baits are gorgeous, right? But we're nerds and we nerd out on it. So
Definitely.
I don't want just that one. I want all 6 in the set, all different, right? So I'm that way too. You know, I got sets of stuff. I don't even throw them, but
Yeah.
they're cool. I like them. So, so I think colors and that kind of stuff sell. But I don't know. And this might, you know, this won't sit well, but I'm not a big fan of a regular jackhammer. Just chatterbaits. They've always worked.
Yeah.
And then I go to I throw the jackhammer around and I get like a quarter of the bites. I feel like, not that it doesn't work, because it does. I've caught good fish on green pumpkin jackhammers, but I think that's $10 more for the same. It's not that much difference in my opinion. But.
Yeah. I can definitely hear that. And, you know, it's funny. So many people make bladed jigs, and there's so many.
Oh, for sure.
There's so many differences, you know, like there's a lot that you can do. Does it warrant the price increase to go jackhammer? I don't know. I've never used one.
Know.
I use the regular, the Z-Man chatterbaits, and I use Bog Hog chatterbaits. They're a local company up here. I use what else have I used for bladed jigs? Even the Guggen, the clickbait. I like that. I think it's a really unique, and what's nice about that bladed jig is that it's kind of adjustable. Like if you bend that arm that sticks up, you can make it ride higher or lower in the water column.
Lower in yeah.
It's pretty cool.
What's funny is I see it and I'm like, that looks goofy, but I mean, what bait does it anymore, right?
Yeah, definitely, man. Look at umbrella rigs. I mean, that stuff looks absolutely bananas.
Hey, I've never thrown an A-rig, you know. That stuff is that's another level, man.
Oh yeah, 100%. What are your top 3 people that you would love to fish with, and they can be living or dead?
I would go with my grandmother, Wilma. That started the whole deal. Her and my grandfather, and then I would like to go fishing with Ot Defoe.
Ot Defoe, yes.
Yeah, that's a legend. Louisiana guy.
Yep.
And then, I don't know, I grew up, man, like I was saying, at my grandma's house, we would, Saturday morning, we'd be Bill dance in the tackle box on the floor watching Bill dance before we go fishing while she's making biscuits and gravy stuff, you know, so Bill dance, throw him in there.
I love that. That is awesome.
Yeah.
What now you're a musician. This should be an amazing question. I assume that you utilize music to get hyped up, you know, pretty routinely. When you're on your way to the water, or even when you're on the water, if you do listen to music while you're out there, what do you listen to get hyped up?
Hyped up. If I was going to go hyped up, it would probably be, I don't know, Pantera, Lamb of God. Something like that.
Nice.
To get hyped up.
You know, it's funny you say it that way. I'm curious. Go ahead with what you're saying. I like what you're laying down.
And then some, you know, of course, you got your classic Metallica and all of that. And I like the newer stuff too, man. I like the progressive style metals, Between the Buried and Me and August Burns Red and all of that.
Yep.
And then I'll throw on Bob Marley.
Hell yeah.
Bob Marley and chill out too while we're fishing. So there's no real walls on that too much.
No, that's awesome, man. It's so funny that you say that because it was Father's Day this year, and I just recently started listening to music while fishing, and I just try to like match my mood like I do when I listen to music anyway. Whatever I'm feeling, I pop that on. And I was out. It was Father's Day this past June, and I'm out with my buddy, and we're out on the lake, and I'm fishing. I'm missing all these fish, and I'm just like, I think I need to slow down. So I go to Spotify and I just do a playlist for slow blues. And I just because I do the same thing. Like when I host trivia, I have a real quiet bed of music, but it's kept all at around 120 beats per minute. And that's just for me to be on pace with the game.
Chill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just instrumental stuff that just keeps me sort of on time. And I'm like, all right, cool. I should be on the next question or whatever.
That's awesome. You got a little click track in the background for you.
That's exactly, which is funny because I'm not a great drummer. I hate playing to a click track. I hate it, but I know it's a necessary evil. Yeah, I know it's a necessary evil. But so I put on this playlist and I started to get bit. And I'm just like, all right, that's pretty cool. So
you're matching your cadence to the metronome.
Yeah. I'm just kind of like changing up the vibe. I don't know if it's, I'm sure it's 100% subconscious, and that's interesting too. Like you mentioned, you're like to get hyped up because there's definitely different sort of moods. Like when you're heading out, like, you're heading out just for like,
man, and it can affect everyday life can affect that.
Oh yeah.
Work, home, whatever.
Oh my God. You ain't kidding.
You gotta, and it'll affect your fishing, man. It's like the fish know dude's pissed off right now. So let's just stay away from him. How do you know, man? But
and isn't it funny that they stay away from you? But if they would just jump on the damn hook, everything would be much better.
For both of us.
Exactly.
You're getting a picture. Yeah, my anxiety goes away.
Yup.
It's a win-win.
Absolutely. Have you ever traveled anywhere specifically for the purpose of fishing? Like I would say more than a couple hours away.
Oh, absolutely. Arkansas, nice. Louisiana. I got family, obviously, Padre Island, Corpus Christi area. So we go down there a couple times a year.
That's
get
awesome.
on the speck trout and the reds. Love Packery Channel. Anywhere around Port Aransas, you can almost throw anything anywhere in Port Aransas and catch something.
That's awesome.
So,
yeah. What about like your bucket list bodies of water to fish? Where haven't you been that you want to make sure to be at?
I would love to go up north, all the Erie smallmouth stuff.
Oh,
that's fishing on the moon to me.
Yep.
So that would be awesome. Smallmouth is the fish that's kind of on my number one next trip list. That's where we're heading next. The smallmouth territories.
Yep. They're my favorite. Like they're my favorite species to catch.
That's what I hear, man. Yeah. Rockets is so
100%. Let's see. What's your goal for fishing? Like where would you like to see it take you in the next, like, say 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question. I would love to, supplement part of my work day with fishing. Who wouldn't? But at the moment, I'm just trying to make a good foundation and take it slow. I have the YouTube page, Adaptive Angler. I have no videos on there yet. I have a bunch of videos made, but nothing's on there yet because I'm not trying to rush and push and make something happen. I'm just trying to allow stuff to happen. I've done that my whole life where I'm going to do this and this is what it's going to be. And I'm trying to take a different approach at this. So I'm just trying to get the foundation real good.
That's awesome. It's funny because I had, once you start creating any kind of content, and like goes with podcasts, it goes with Instagram, YouTube, it doesn't matter. There's something where did I come up with? I think it was Gary Vee had said it, and it stuck with me right away. If you get an idea to do something, create it. Just get it done. Get it out there, because the first one is never going to be as good as like your 100th one. There's no way. It's impossible. So if you do it, you've at least already crossed that goal off, and then you can start raising the bar, which is an easier journey versus like, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write The Godfather. That's really like, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So it's just one of those things where you kind of put it into I don't even want to make it sound like attainable, because it's not that setting lower goals, but setting multiple goals will help you definitely get there. I mean, you should totally go for it, man. And those first, and if nothing else, this is the best part. I like to throw this in. This is like the Bobby roast beef tidbit. Go and put something out, even if it's not perfect, because just looking back at it a year later, 5 years later, over and over again, that creates new content because you learn from it.
Sure.
And then, it's all about engaging,
Good.
What is your typical rod and reel arsenal look like? Like for when you generally go out for a day, what are you bringing out there with you?
I'll take 3 rods, 7 medium, heavy, fast, Empire rod, Shimano SLX, 7 2-wheel.
Nice.
And then 13 fishing, 7 foot. I like 7 foot. I'm on the kayak a lot, so I like to I learned that from Drew Gregory, watching his stuff, listening to him, man. He uses everything very, very similar. So as he's on the kayak, he's not switching up feel from height of rod and speed and all of that, and he's changing his cadence. So I kind of dig that idea that you're not having you're not taking 10 casts to get comfortable again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does.
Versus, right. So I like to keep everything kind of around there. So 7.2 on the Shimano, and then 13 fishing is an 8.1, and then another Shimano Corrado 7 foot medium SLX rod.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's
and that's more for the more finesse stuff.
Yep.
Barely gets used.
It's so funny because you see a lot of these, and we did this one too, where we basically reacted to a list that Mike Iaconelli had put out about the 3 rods that every angler needs to have on hand, and logistically it makes sense. But no matter what that kind of list looks like, you got to look at the fishing you like to do. One of our guests had said this one time, and I thought it was genius. They're like, the best fishing is the fishing you're actually going to do. So they might be biting on a drop shot, but if you hate throwing that, figure something else out, Like maybe you're going to throw a shaky head and slow that down, or maybe you're going to, figure it out, because the only way to catch fish.
Confidence is huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's some would say it's almost everything, really. If you're just I don't think we're going to catch anything on this, you have no idea. And that's why you got to experiment. And when, like me, I only really got serious into bass fishing a handful of years ago. So for me, I'm still learning a lot of this stuff. Like this year was the first year I ever had really great results. Actually, it was the end of last fall on buzzbaits. And it was just because I was throwing them on the wrong stuff. I was just throwing them on the wrong gear.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yep, that'll do it.
Yeah, I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I changed things up. And same thing with frogs last year. I had a breakthrough with frogs where I caught a bunch. This year has been awful for frogfish. At least that I've run into. I've caught way more punching heavy cover than flip it, than working a frog anywhere. But actually, I think topwater in general has kind of been weak for me all year.
Same here.
Yeah.
I've had one good topwater day, and then the rest has been reaction stuff.
Yep. It was crazy. It was just and actually so when this drops in this episode, we're already going to be talking about this. So it's going to be, I'll be doubling up a little bit, but there was one day I was out with my buddy Paul. We went out, I think it was Thursday, and we were trying to beat the heat. We were at the launch at 5:15, and we're getting all of our stuff together. And while I'm at the launch, I take my buzzbait rod and I'm throwing buzzbait around. I took 3 casts. I got a blow up on all 3. I didn't connect with any of those fish, but I got a blow up on all 3. So I, work around the bank and I'm throwing that buzzbait, and I got 2 other blow ups, but nothing was connecting. I started throwing a swim jig and just running it higher in the column, and that's when they started biting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just crazy.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm like, you got to be kidding. That is freaking. You learn something every time, and I think that's ultimately the goal.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, the other day, I've heard this before too. I was swimming a jig under a tree that's over the bank.
Yep.
I'm in the kayak and I'm casting down the bank, and I'm making sure that the jig gets under that tree shade.
Yep.
Just in the shade and then back out of the shade. And that wasn't working. So I've heard, okay, Wacky Rig Senko, throw it in there because I got a hit. I got a couple bombs. So I throw Wacky Rig Senko, green pumpkin and chartreuse.
Yep.
First cast, as soon as it hits the water, fish on. So sometimes it's just switching it up, slowing it down.
Yeah.
I don't know. That was a great learning experience though, because then not just hearing someone tell me that works, cool. I got to experience it. Yeah. Now I know it works. So
yep. 100%. It's so funny because I've had that situation before where I've gotten a piece of advice where people, I forget where this even came from, but it was follow with a jig. So I was last year I was throwing around this wake bait from Spro, and I had a big blow up on it and I missed it. And so I zipped the rat back in, I grabbed my jig rod and I pitched the jig right over that one spot. Right on the drop, hooked right up immediately. It was like a 17-incher. It was great. I'm like, this is fantastic. Nice. I got to do this more. Yeah. It's just like, there's so much fishing that's a mental game. It's absolutely amazing. Next question for you is this. Aside from going out and actually, buying fishing gear or actually just going out and fishing, how has fishing made it a part of your like everyday lifestyle? And I'll give you an example. Like not only do I have like soft plastics or like O-rings in my pockets all the time, but now I've got them in my car everywhere. Like every little
for sure.
storage area is packed full of soft plastics.
Yeah.
What is it in your life that like fishing is kind of like nestled in and it's taken up its space?
Oh, wow. That, how much time do we have? The whole garage, our cars fit in there, but the rest of it's fishing gear and kayak and PFDs and stuff,
That's awesome.
Camping gear and all of that jazz. My desk right now that I'm sitting at is Shimano boxes and Power Pro and Yozuri and Seagar, and it's everywhere. Field and Stream, the Total Fishing Guide Manual, this huge book, stuff like that. It's everywhere.
I love it though.
Once you've got that itch like that, man, it's going to take over like that.
It's hard.
And my wife is awesome. She's more steady, and she's never really fished. Well, over the last year or so, she's gotten into it. And we started her off with just the way my grandma did. When I was a kid, Zebco 33 and some fishing liver, man. Chicken liver. She couldn't do it. She couldn't sit there like that. So we found out very fast that she's a power fisher.
Yep.
Angling lady, a lady angler.
Yeah.
Anyways, she likes to swim like Texas rig crawls and stuff like that. And
definitely.
She does great. She does great, man. But she went from, and we talk about, I hear it all the time on podcasts, people say, skip the push button, go to spin reel. She wouldn't do it. She wouldn't even touch a spin setup.
No kidding.
I've got a couple of them. She went straight from the Zebco 33 to Lew's smash setup.
Nice.
Bait caster. So, and just turned the brakes down for a while, and she got it. Now she, zings 50 yards. I don't know, cast. So that's awesome.
The best. That is awesome, man. Good for her. That's
pretty cool, man.
That's huge.
Yeah, I'm excited, and it's a good thing to have in the family. It's not just your best friend now; it's your fishing buddy too.
No, definitely.
Pretty good deal.
So we're going to do a real quick game of Would You Rather. And I haven't had the opportunity to do this with a guest yet because I don't know that we've had another drummer as a guest. We've had other musicians, but no, I don't think about another drummer as a guest. So I'm going to give you two different drummers. You got to choose who you prefer.
All right.
All right. Let's go. We're going to start out. Let's do John Bonham or Keith Moon?
Bonham.
Okay. Recently departed Charlie Watts or Ringo Starr?
Oh. I'll go Ringo Starr.
Got to go Ringo? I get that. I'm more of a Charlie guy myself. And it wasn't until I didn't put that together until like my late 20s when I really took a dive into the Stones library, and I'm just like, yeah, I definitely kind of vibe a lot with Charlie Watts, a lot.
Right on. I was never really big on the Stones.
Yep.
That was part of that too.
Oh yeah. Are you a fan of Dream Theater at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So this is going to be a tough one. Portnoy or Mangini?
Oh.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Few of my
I'm
guests can
still going to
appreciate
go
this.
I'm still going to go Portnoy just because I, as a kid, 12 years old, bought VHSs of that dude and sat in my room and
That's what I'm
with
saying.
drumsticks on a pillow, so.
He is the man. He
Legend.
is. Oh,
Yeah.
100%. He's got a certain like soul that you can't like. Mike Mangini is a machine, but
Yeah, for sure.
Portnoy's just a beast. Absolutely. And for the last one, we'll go Buddy Rich or Max Roach.
That's funny. I got a picture of Buddy Rich right here on my wall.
Oh,
I'm gonna
I had
go
a
with
feeling.
Rich.
Got to go with Rich. Have you ever heard any of the Buddy Rich recordings where he's berating his band?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Where he's been on the bus
Yes.
drilling them.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's like,
Get your stuff together, son. He's handling them. Yeah.
you shave that beard now.
I'm like, damn, I don't know if I want to be in that guy's band,
I
buddy.
know. That's a bit much. So you know the deal. We got one more question before this one. This is the one everybody really wants the scoop on. So the hypothetical situation is that Sean the Fisherman and I are driving down to Dallas, Texas with the Metallica library cranking in our white kidnapping van, right? And we're coming to get you.
Right
and
on.
we're going to bring you to a body of water that we don't even know the conditions of. It's just going to be a complete surprise. No idea what the weather conditions are at all. No idea about the body of water. But we have the Jigs and Bigs corporate card, right? And you get to put together your dream combo to fish any situation. Go ahead and build that. What are you putting together? What are you spooling it with? And what do you think you're going to throw?
Well, I'm Shimano guy.
Okay.
I'm Shimano guy.
I am
So
too. I love a Corrado.
I'm gonna, the Corrado, 8-speed Corrado.
Nice.
On Dobbins Fury, and that's the cheaper end, but I love that rod.
It's a good rod.
Great rod. Dobbins Fury, and then 12 pound, and then we'll go medium fast.
Okay.
Medium fast, and then Seagar Brazex, 12 pound, and you can do a whole lot with that.
Oh yeah, you can. Definitely, you can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's a great combo. So now the cornerstone of this show is really hinges on two stories. The one I think is kind of easy. That's the moment that you're most proud of, like whatever it might be. It could be a PB. You can definitely mention your PB if you want, or it could be something where like the shit hit the fan and like you were able to come out unscathed on the other side. The flip side of that is we need one of the biggest type moments while you were on the water where it all just went to hell.
Right. Well, one of the most proud moments was went to Corpus and the boys got their stuff out of the truck and went to Packery Channel and just started zinging it. I didn't have to help them,
That's
tell them,
awesome.
nothing. And and they got right on fish. They were pulling in speck trout and these little sand trout, little guys. That's awesome to me. It's like, okay, dude, they made it.
That's a huge accomplishment, man. How old are they?
And just last year, 14, 15. And
That's
just
awesome.
last year, I was still kind of, well, Bud, you got to this and that. And, and they're past that. And that really was really cool. That just happened a couple of months ago.
That's awesome, dude.
So that's one of many. I mean, and my wife, really getting into angling and taking it serious and having fun.
Yep.
And that's another thing, man. When you got a family, you go to the water. You go to the water for them when they go.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, exactly. You gotta sort of put those in their little compartments. Like this is for them to get that enjoyment, and it's like, nope, now this one's for me.
Yeah. Right. And the other day, my wife, she's a supervisor of a company, and she works all the time too, but she doesn't work like I do, drive around and have time to fish. So I'm always trying to get on some fish, and she's like, gosh, I want to go fishing. So last night we took the kayak and she got on a little 2-pounder, nice little largemouth yesterday.
That's awesome.
So that's another one. Her stepping up and getting out of the Disney princess mode, I guess you'd call it.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's probably stuff.
That's awesome, man. I'm working on my wife to try to get her. Yeah.
What's that?
Oh, I was just saying, I'm working on my wife to try to get her to sort of like see what I see in fishing. We went out once this summer and she had a great time. I just got to get her on some fish. Like, that's what I got to do. I just got to get her on some fish.
Have you just taken her out on the kayak in the evening where the sun's kind of setting and it's chilled outside and it's not so brutal?
That's what I'm working on, and I'm hoping that
kind of did it.
Yeah, that might be it. Like it really is. Like, it's tough to get her up first thing in the morning and get out for that first sort of light. You know, that's what everybody kind of wants.
Here often.
And I think that, and you know, actually, fall might be the time to do that when the bugs have died off a little bit. You know, and
yes, sir.
Yeah, that might be the way to do it.
Yeah. Well, the spell, there's a man, if you've been fishing for any amount of time, you got a bunch of them.
Yeah, you do.
I mean it. Most recent horrible fail was when I got back on a kayak, whenever I got the 12T about a year ago-ish.
Yep.
And, last time I was on a kayak fishing was, 14, 15 years ago when I was, 18 years old or something.
Oh yeah.
And, learning to fish again, or not even learning to fish again, because at that age, it wasn't even really serious. So really learning to fish from a kayak is a whole nother, you're not digging your feet in the ground and setting a hook, so.
Yeah.
Or in the deck of a bass boat or whatever. So it's a completely different world. And learning your action, because this is another thing, from a bass boat to the bank, your actions and your line weights and all that jazz, that kind of correlates, but on a kayak, that stuff changes. To me, it does.
No,
I found out the hard way. I learned the hard way that it changes for me.
Yep.
So, a frog rod with straight braid and the drag welded down on a kayak doesn't work well. So I found that out the hard way too. So the fell is, I set the hook on like 6 fish in the yak one day. I'm talking a whole day, 8-hour day of fishing, working for these fish, man. And burn up, and all 6 of them shook the hook when I got them from the water to the yak between that trip because of the action line drag.
Oh,
now yes, sir.
They had just enough leverage. Yeah,
that's it. So now I don't weld my drag down anymore. Now I set my drag appropriately versus listening to the old school guys. They're just crank that thing down, So yeah, that's one of the biggest spells. I was really unhappy with myself that afternoon.
Oh, I believe
loading up the yak and all the gear, sweaty as shit,
and
defeated.
Yeah, that sucks. Anytime you're going back and you're packing everything up and you got your tail between your legs, and then there's that one a-hole that's there like, hey, are they biting at all? And it's like, just not the time. I need a minute.
Yeah.
I need 10 minutes. Leave me alone, man. That is the worth. Sean, this was absolutely awesome, man. Do me a favor, take this opportunity, go ahead and promote whatever you have coming up. If you have something lined up, promote where people can find you on social media. Let people know. Yeah,
on Instagram, Tacklebox Breakdown, all one word. The Adaptive Angler YouTube page, which we're working on getting going right now, and that's about it. I'm sponsored by Empire Rods, and they're quality rods, man. They really are.
Nice.
It's a heavy duty rod. That's what I will say. And that's another one of those things. You got to set it up right because it's a broomstick,
Yep.
Yeah. And that's, at the moment, that's what it is. It's daily fishing. I hashtag daily fishing and all my stuff because that's what I really try to do.
Yeah.
Is get on some fish every day. Does it happen every day? No, it's
Definitely
still life.
not. Yeah.
But that's my passion, man. And we'll see what happens. And I really appreciate you, Bobby.
Dude.
And Sean, the fisherman, you guys are great, man. Love the show.
I'm glad you dig it. I really am. We want to connect more. We are Northeast anglers and we love where we live. But we want to reach out and ideally, we want to travel. We want to get Jigs and Bigs to do some live events, get out there and start experience different parts of the country, fishing these other bodies of water. So, we'll get there. We're going to get there someday. But yeah, man, having listeners like you out in the Lone Star State, get in touch with us. This is what it's all about. So it's freaking awesome. Do me a favor, Sean.
Awesome,
if you could, if you have a picture that you love, you're just holding a tank, send it to me and I'll utilize that when we do the artwork for this episode.
No problem.
Awesome.
We'll do it, man.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, you have a good one. It was great talking to you. I'm sure we're going to be in touch.
Absolutely. You guys have a great one.
All right. Take care, buddy.
Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye-bye. You know what that means. It's about that time to wrap up another amazing show for Jigs and Bigs this week. Guys, it's been a good one. It was really, really awesome to talk with Sean Carrier. Glad he was able to be on the show. It was really, really great. I love that conversation that we had. And I love the fact that I was able to go and get drum geeky with him about it. I thought that was really cool. Totally unexpected. I didn't even realize he played drums, but good stuff. And you got to admit, he went Portnoy on the Portnoy Mangini. Would you rather? And I got to respect that 100%. That's my camp.
I'm with him too. That's the classic lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. So, had to. We had a good conversation. Awesome stuff. Guys, there's a lot happening for Jigs and Bigs right now. We're just mere days away from getting into our September tournament, the last online CPR tournament for Jigs and Bigs for the year. So this is your opportunity. Should mention that during the recording of this podcast, we did get a new entry into our tournament, and it's Dylan Barber. He signed up while we were recording. Awesome. Great job, man. Looking forward to it. So now we're at 10 anglers so far.
All right. Do you want to talk shit to him? I'll give you one shit talking opportunity.
Oh, no. I can't. I've seen the light, and I feel like, last thing I want to do is dig a hole. You know what I mean? In my mental health.
Bobby's coming for you. He's going to fuck you up.
You're taking a play out of the Paul Roberts School of Plays. My goodness. Oh. He's coming. He's going to fuck you up. I'm going to catch rock bass at Champlain the whole time that we're there. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to be like the Rock Bass King.
Rock Bass King in New England. That's a good title to have.
I'll take it.
Yeah?
I'll take it. Good stuff all around. Sean had asked me earlier about my sensual and well-maintained beard. And
I never said sensual.
Okay, maybe I'm adding that term. So I'm going to play this for you guys one time. Just because it has a lot of good information about the products that I started using in my beard. I am now working with a company called Live Bearded, and I'm going to go ahead and play this. So mainly so Sean can get the gist of it as well. But if you guys are interested, let's go for it. Hey guys, I often get a lot of really good feedback about my beard. Lots of times people actually will ask about what I use for beard care products too. For a long time, it was nothing other than a brush. But things have changed and my beard is styled better and much healthier than it's ever been before. The main reason for this is that I started using beard care products from livebearded.com. Right now, I'm using Live Bearded's beard wash, the conditioner, oil, and the beard butter. I'm also using their bar soap too. In all in matching refreshing scents, I should add. The products are 100% natural, and they don't leave your beard feeling weighted down or crusty. I've discovered livebearded.com on Instagram and ordered their sample pack of 6 different scents to figure out which one I like the best. I really enjoy the Gunslinger and American scents most. I've been using the sample kit, and I really enjoy it, and I've upped it and gotten a full lineup of all their products in the scents that I like. I realized the level of quality that wasn't there in other products that I've tried before. It really did make a huge difference. So I've got a special offer for you. Visit livebearded.com and use my code ROASTBEEF, all one word with no spaces, and you'll receive a 10% discount on your order at checkout. Try the sampler kit for just $10 or go all out and get the full lineup of great products. There's kits available too, and they're great for gifts. And you can even sign up for a subscription. Save a little bit of money, and you'll also find that you won't run out of your favorite beard care products. Check out livebearded.com right now and use the promo code ROASTBEEF to save some cash and look like the epic beardsman you are.
I think beard care, I think roast beef.
I think beard care, I think roast beef, you bastards.
Hey, I've been
here come the comments. They're going to fucking roast me up.
I've been growing
Rodney
this beard.
says nobody has ever asked about his beard ever. That's not true.
I've been growing this beard. You want to go to Arby's?
You want to go to Arby's? How do you keep your beard styled so well, Bobby? What do you use? Horsey sauce.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That whatever that shit is, it passes as cheese. An onion bun.
Berger says, I'll not be able to hear this as now without the vision of you two playing charades in the background. Oh yeah, no, that ad for sure.
Let's let everyone know. Become a patron, and you can see the stupid shit Bobby and I do on this YouTube shenanigan bullshit because we're idiots.
Andrew does have quite a beard, Rodney.
Yes,
absolutely. He has an amazing beard. He looks like he's got one of those like Turkish beards almost. You know what I mean? Like every hair is perfect. But I mean that comes with the territory when you go to a tournament with your kayak on a Mercedes. It happens. It happens. That's the kind of beard you get, you know?
I wish I had foot servants to apply beard oil to me.
I will tell you, in all seriousness, Sean asked like what the products were that I would recommend, and that sampler is awesome because while you can get all of the products in an unscented, trust me, you're going to want the scents. They're really great. But start out with the sampler, figure out what it is, and for like a short beard like you've got, Sean, you're not going to have to worry about the beard butter or anything like that. I mean, that's great to go once you're dealing with flyaways. That's where beard butter really makes a difference. But as far as maintaining the health, I think beard oil is that's the biggest thing. And I say that I've actually, you know who most of the people are who ask me about my beard?
Who?
Women. Because their boyfriends and their husbands' beards are like crazy. And they're like, how do you wrangle it in? How do you do that? Because before I started, taking care of it, my wife was always just like, would you trim that beard? It is way too long. And I mean, the goal is I'm trying to go Billy Gibbons style. Like that's the goal. That's what so I've stopped grooming everything underneath. And that's kind of where I'm looking to go is really kind of run with it.
Yeah, dude, I'm sticking. My wife seems to dig the barely over 5 o'clock shadow, and I haven't been told to stop it. I even asked, like, what's the feedback? She's like, nope, it's fine. That's enough. I want to have a little facial hair. We know what happens or what follows. Longer facial hair with me. Senior discounts, and I don't need that shit.
It's funny. I feel the same because I have so much white in my beard. It is ridiculous. Like a lot of people are nice. What was it? Bass and Brews? Yeah, on Bass and Brews, Todd Grubb was just like, oh, Bobby's got all the salt and pepper. That's nice. I appreciate that. I am an old man. Like, that's where I'm headed. I'm turning into Santa Claus. Last summer, I started at one of my trivia events outside, and this oh my God, this one regular who's normally there, she is a firecracker, and she had, maybe a handful of White Claws playing trivia, and she comes up to me and she's like, "You look like Santa," and I'm like, "You're not wrong, you're not exactly wrong."
Here we are in our mid-40s after a childhood of maiming each other in the woods.
It's true.
I'm going white too, man. It's all good.
You know how they say that? They're like every gray hair is like a trip down memory lane. It's like everyone is a reminder of all the mistakes I've made in life. Like, there's that piece of PVC that got lodged in my nipple. Oh, here's that ball bearing that hit me in the thigh. You know? Did Bobby just call me out through the show, Sean? No, Sean.
Yes.
Sean's the one that handled all that.
Yeah, I was setting you up for a fight. Good stuff.
Nice. Oh, and then Berkshire Brett chimes in, says, when I first got out of the Guard, my wife hated the beard. Now she's ready to beat me if I say I'm going to shave. That's the worst part. I will say, when it comes to growing like a substantial beard, you get bored with it. It's a little bit wild, and you're just like, the urge to not shave is tough.
Most people are like that. You're like, soul patch.
Hey, we all know how we got down that road. That was about a year ago, actually.
I know. I came across that picture in my gallery the other day, and I was like, "Oh my god, look at that
spank bank, nice."
Oh, I still have it. Oh yeah. Oh, that's a rainy day for you, my friend.
I love it. That was bad. I did. I looked like every bad guy in every Western ever. Like
when you have facial hair that physically affects the way fish perceive your lures, it's time to change.
I know. It's bad news. Anyway, this has gotten out of hand.
Were we ever in hand at any point, really?
I don't think so. I keep looking over to make sure that I'm recording is really what's going on. I'm looking over, I'm like, huh? And then I got complacent. I'm a moron. Anyway, guys, it's a whole other week right now, but we're in the week where we're transitioning over to the September tournament. Go ahead and sign up. You guys are absolutely going to love it. It's a whole lot of fun. We always have a great time. It's your last opportunity until next spring to do a Jigs and Bigs listener tournament. And we've got one in October, and then
Chronic Trips is October.
Yep.
And then this year, based on all the little talks that you, I, and Seth all had from Chronic Trips, we're not going to run any tournaments in November or December. It's the holidays.
Yep.
And then we're going right now. The tentative plan is to run a ice or whatever tournament January and February, a 60-day. Well, not 60-day. What's January? January is 31 and February is 28 this year. So 59-day tournament.
That's pretty cool. Gives you a nice long window to get out on the ice. Like, even if you're only doing the weekends or something, you still get a good amount of time out there to catch them. Or if you're down south, you don't have to worry about all that stuff, you lucky bastards.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, this is the time. I got to start really looking at ice gear too. Definitely got to start looking at ice gear. That's
you and I have talked about this. I think you just need to get some decent cold weather gear. Don't worry about bibs and stuff. Like, if we are ice fishing at my house for an hour and a half one day, you're not going to need shit.
And I think you're right. I think that's ultimately what it all gets down to. I think that will do it for me. It's if I'm going to make the trek up to like Maine or something. If we don't have safe ice locally and I want to ice fish, that's why I want to be ready to go. Because that's a long ride to go and be like, holy shit, I'm freezing my ass off. But I drive 3.5 hours home.
True statement.
You know? Well, guys, why don't you go ahead and catch some fish? Connect on Fishing Chaos and join us for this tournament that starts in just a couple of days. Trust me, you're not going to miss out. You're not going to want to miss out on this first week, because it's a great opportunity for you to get some fish entered in, get on the board, score some points, all good stuff. You're definitely going to want to jump in on this and join us. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Guys, I am really looking forward to this month. We have a lot of really good stuff planned. September is going to be really awesome, and that weather is already starting to cool down. I think Sean even mentioned, last week, that he noticed up in the Berkshires some leaves starting to change color, which is not great if you're trying to avoid that thing. It's coming.
Yep. It is.
It's coming. Those cooler nights are here. So, guys, we're going to call it a show for you. I hope you guys had a great one. As always, remember, follow us on Instagram. Don't just follow Jigs and Bigs. We love that you do, because we're going to be doing giveaways there too. But remember, every time we cross over on the Bobby Roast Beef and Sean the Fisherman pages, every time we cross over the 1,000-follower mark, we're going to give away some kind of a prize pack. And that's the whole deal. That's what we're all about. We just want to have some fun and reach some people and give them good shit.
Good shit.
Good shit.
I second the good shit.
I love it. Get out there and catch some fish, guys. We'll see you in 7 days with more Jigs and Bigs goodness. Like we always say each and every week, tight line.